fuck out of bed, bitch. Go. Get up, and they got go. Time to wake up, bitch. Get up. Get up. Get up.
All right, there's no better way to start off the day. I'm imagining it's going to be a light group today with everybody partying.
What
with the Super
emotion is
Bowl.
driving the market now?
What's going on?
Learn more about the...
Die. Thank you. But I'm excited about the week. There's a lot going on, like usual. That's usually how I start off the show. If you look down in the bottom corner, you'll see Bitcoin getting a bounce. I think it'll last, but God only knows for this week, guys. There's so much happening with it between tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, steel tariffs, China targeting energy and farm equipment. You've got the Department of Government Efficiency killing U.S. aid, the Department of Education, the Consumer Federal Protection Bureau. We got fraud potentially at the Treasury that Trump was alluding to last night. It's crazy. There's so much going on. The fear and greed sitting at 39. I did update the portfolio today too, guys. Finally this morning. And I'm down about $500,000 from the last time I did it about 10 days ago. I did fix a few things. I want to go over it. So yearly performance over the last 5 years, I wanted to make this a little bit clearer on where I am, because before it was just it was a waterfall chart, which is kind of broken. It's a bad way of looking at it. It doesn't visually represent it well. And then at the same time, it didn't show my current state. So we fixed that. So now you can see the proper performance. You can see how, and this is, again, one of the things that sucks with this is the data I used to record was the low balances. That's all I tracked. So that's all I have for previous years. But for current year, I'm going to try and track the low, the high, and where I am currently. And I think that'll do a better job of kind of showing that the number just doesn't go up. Sometimes it goes back down, and that's the way life works. I'm actually really excited, though, guys, about all of this right now, the entire market. There could be more pain ahead. I think you have to be mentally prepared for more pain. But I'm very, very excited with where we're going. Let me look at chat real quick here, too. Peter, thank you for the 10 euro. Is that? Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you. Matthew says, looks like you're set for a bounce. I hope so. Yeah, it looks like I'm finding support on the low of 2024 or 2025, right? Hopefully I'm set for bounce. Could you format it like a candlestick? Maybe. Is there a reason for that? Is there a reason you need the candlestick? I like this way. I think I'm going to stick with this way. But if you have a really good reason, let me know. I'm not muted. Hey, guys, I've actually been really good at not being muted. I just want to say that. Good morning, Jesse. You were at the gym with me this morning, and we're killing it. Awesome. Right after this, I'm going to be hitting the gym, so that's going to work out. Let me see what else we got here. Anything else worth? The American Adventure said, good morning, everyone. Looking forward to seeing the reaction post-tariff today. Hope you had a good weekend, Jesse, and health is up, up, up. And you're doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's pretty insane. U.S. needs to refinance debt. Trump and Besant will make sure we get cheap rates. TLT time, let's go. I actually think TLT, I think today, I think over the next couple of days, we could see just a little bit of a retracement in TLT until we get clarity that DOGE is going to be able to get back into it and get back in the game. And I think that's coming for sure. Also, guys, U.S. national debt clock. This thing was a little ahead of schedule before. I think it's actually getting closer to reality now. Again, if we're doing away with the Department of Education, and it sounds like we are from Elon's post, then that's another $85 billion a year that we're going to be saving. And then the Consumer Federal Protection Bureau is just bullshit. That's probably a bunch more money that we'll be saving. And then we're going after FEMA right now. And then we're going to be looking at, the DOD and the Pentagon, since they've never been able to pass a budget. There's so much. We got Trump pulling the best he ever has on CBS. And then again, I posted more about just the state of the country and what people, or the direction of the country and whether people like it. Best number in 3.5 years. That goes deep into the Biden presidency. It tells you a lot. But without further ado, and also economic calendar, there really is nothing today or tomorrow. that really matters in the U.S. Let's see. We got auto exports, Mexico. We got consumer inflation expectations today at 10. But that's probably going to be in line with expectations. If it's very liberal and it's polling, maybe it'll be higher because Fundstrat was showing this. But liberals seem to think inflation is at 5% and conservatives seem to think it's at 0. So very, very political, these kind of numbers as far as expectations in regard to inflation. So I don't think that matters. And then tomorrow, again, we get Red Book. We got a bunch of feds talking. They'll probably talk shit and about how they're worried about inflation, yada, yada, yada. Probably talk negatively about tariffs. Probably not talk positively about DOGE because that doesn't seem to be on the radar. We do have business optimism. So really, that's it, though. The next 2 days, that's it. And then we get inflation data, CPI, core, all that stuff heading into Wednesday. So that'll be the big day in regard to economic data. But for now, it's probably going to be a little light. Let's jump over here. We'll get some bookmarks pulled up. Are your previous year numbers where you started each year? No, it's confusing because the only thing... So guys, I've only been on social media doing this really, sharing information for like the last 2 years. Really a little bit longer than that in Facebook groups, but that was just kind of a shitty experience all around. I got banned all the time, even though I was the one that created the group. I would get blocked by Facebook. So I just fucking hated that experience because they didn't like me talking shit about China, evidently. Anyway, so really I counted as 2 years since I started on X. And then within the last year, really that was YouTube. But before that, I was tracking it for my own fucking purposes. I wasn't really looking to display anything. So all I really cared about as far as data was the lows of each year. That's all I gave a shit about. That's all I kept track of. And so these numbers in previous years are representation, and maybe I should just put low in front of it. I should maybe. Well, I mean, it says it up here, portfolio balance lows plus current. So, but maybe I'll put it down below too to make it less confusing. That's all I had. So I can only show what I had. And again, pretty impressive numbers, I think, from negative 46,000 in 2019 to my new low in 2020 of 164. My new low in 2021 wasn't great, 226. But then again, 376, an 80% improvement or something. And then 2023, like almost a 300% improvement. And then 2024, doubling. And then 2025, another more than doubling from the lows. And then again, at the beginning of this year, I had a really good spike when Tesla was going up. But with Tesla down 27% from its recent high, and PayPal sucking and exiting that, I lost about 250,000 in total, but 150,000 just in a day from just getting the fuck out of that shitty trade and getting into TLT as my hedge. And then shitcoins have just been getting crushed. Bitcoin was getting crushed. Miners were getting crushed. They started to resurge a little bit on Friday. It's showing strength in it, which is great. But again, it's just pulled me down hard from where I was at my high. I am not remotely worried about it. I'm very excited about what's coming for the remainder of this year. Even if there's short-term pain, I would rather front load that into this year. And again, get all the tariff stuff, get all the negativity out there, get people in tariffs. Again, I think tariffs, what we'll see from it is we'll actually see potentially a further slowdown in economic activity. But again, are kind of a redistribution of purchasing in different locations and trying to avoid it. So I think it really hurts the countries that are getting tariffed more than anything. I think they have to absorb the cost, but also, as we've seen before, we'll see a shift in their purchasing power with their currencies versus ours. So the stuff finds a way to balance itself out. Math 2 said you managed to grow through the most crappy years. Yeah, I mean, there's a number of reasons for that. Bitcoin definitely didn't hurt for some of it, but also just great investments with Meta, Tesla at the bottoms. I bought Meta when it was like in the 80s or something, right near the lows. I bought Tesla when it was down near the hundreds with calls. I bought Palantir when it was down near the bottom, and I made 600% off of that. So there's a lot of Robinhood. I made 1,600%. There's a lot of things that I really made a lot of money off of, but yeah. Scott King, and also somebody, just to clarify some things too, guys, I've only started making money from socials in 2024. I made probably $100,000, maybe a little bit more than that in here. This year, I'm set to make $300,000. But these previous years are even more important because I made money and grew my account a lot while I no income, having to basically pull from my portfolio in order to be able to pay my bills. Then I retired my wife. I retired here. I retired my wife, my in-laws, and my parents here. And I've been helping people the whole time. So it's only over here where I started to get any kind of income just to offset some of that so that I'm not pulling for living expenses all the time. So I actually think it's pretty impressive. But if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat in there. We can talk about them. There is so much to cover today. I'm just going to get to it because it's a shit ton. We're going to jump into the U.S. economy part. Kyle, how did you have money to buy the dip in 2022? Let's go back and look because I sometimes just have to look and remember. 2022. 2022 was brutal. And I did the same thing that I do right now. Okay. 2022 was super brutal for people who don't remember the time frame. This is when Meta crashed to the 85, like I was talking about right around there. This is when Tesla was near 100. This was a really brutal fucking time. What did I do? I literally sold all my Tesla stock and bought calls. I sold all my Meta stock and I bought calls. I did the thing that I was talking about doing where when I had really high conviction that we were nearing the bottom, and it was so easy to see, guys. Like, let's just look at Tesla real quick here. We'll just go through this since, again, I just posted this, so it's probably right that I speak to it. But it was really easy to see in 2022 what was going to happen with Tesla for me. Other people, maybe not so much. But you could see here where we had broken down and we were at the 110 range, right around there. What did we get to? It was probably even worse than the 102, right around there, right? And so if we look over here, guys, the RSI at one point here on the daily time frame was 16. And if you looked at the weekly, it was even like more pronounced, the pain and suffering here. If you look at the weekly right here, the weekly time frame was at 27 on the RSI, and we had fallen, from 412 down to 102. We had fallen 75%. Meta didn't look much different than this, okay? Palantir was even worse. Hood was horrible. Like, all these things had been crushed. So all I did was I moved, and also I had some benefits because if I remember correctly, Bitcoin was already on its way up. And so let me just show you this real quick. I'll steal it from the bottom. Well, you know what? I'll just open a new one so I don't have to fuck with it. But Bitcoin was already on its way up, and I had bought leaps into Mara, Mara, CleanSpark, and MicroStrategy. I wish I kept those MicroStrategies. Oh my God, I would have made so much fucking money off of that. I would be so much richer than I'd probably have 15 million right now or more. But shoulda, coulda, woulda, whatever. But if we look over here, let's go back real quick to the 2022 range in December. And so, no, maybe it was bottoming around the same time. No, I did get some help. So if you look here, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad there too. So I think the gist of it, if I remember correctly, and again, I don't know if it's perfect memory. This is years ago, but I just literally destroyed all the stocks that I had and turned them into leaps. And I did that same thing. I think initially, I used that as a buy the dip. I think I had owned MicroStrategy, if I remember correctly. I'd had a portion in MicroStrategy and leaps. I had a portion in CleanSpark and leaps. I had a portion in Mara and leaps. And all I did was, as the pain intensified, I just moved from the stock to the leaps. The same strategy I'm deploying right now, guys. If you look real quickly, we'll just go over this super fast. My portfolio allocation, Tesla looks like it dropped a lot. It didn't really. It did, but the reason is because I moved a substantial amount away from stock into leaps again. I've been dialing into the pain. I haven't run the numbers on my leaps, but if we just look over here, the last report, I had like 25 contracts. Now I have 52, and I had a lot more shares. So I've been selling my shares and dialing into the pain here with the leaps. And I'll continue to do that. And whatever, if I make a bunch of money off of TLT, I don't think it'll happen right away. Maybe it starts to. I will just dump that money into leaps for Tesla. I will dump that money into other Bitcoin related investments. I will dump that money into ARKG calls. I'll dump that money into things, maybe even some AMD calls. I don't know. I'll dump it into things that give me an asymmetric upside opportunity. So that's the plan. It's what I've been doing for years. I'm just simply following that same playbook today that made me do so well in 2022. And it's leaning into the pain and leveraging up when the time is right. And I think I'm very much doing that right now. It's not as perfect of a setup because, again, when you're down, you'd think it works this way. For most people, it doesn't. But when you're down in Tesla by almost 80%, you think everybody would be buying leaps. Nobody was. When you're down in Meta 75, 80%, you think everybody would be buying leaps. Nobody was, right? Nobody was buying Palantir leaps when I was buying Palantir. Everybody's a fucking cheerleader for Palantir right now. And they're like, it's going to 1,000 next, guys. Nobody was saying that when it was under $10. Nobody. People, I had people mocking me because I was buying leaps and Palantir and these other things, just relentlessly telling me what an idiot I was with my 200-ish followers on X at that time. So it's been interesting. Oh, real quickly here. So I might actually, 1 second, I might switch something up. I don't know how well this works. I haven't figured out this DRM thing, guys. I haven't figured out this DRM thing that's going on with the video play that I'm trying to do with Brave browser using CNBC. I don't know why that isn't working. It's just not working well. So I've got to do something a little bit janky until I can figure that out. But real quickly here, let me just grab this. I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to see if I can play me some CNBC Chrome. There we go. Let's see if I can switch this. And I might have to do this. I might just increase the size here to get it about right. Will it get right? Oh, no, I didn't actually extend it. 1 second here. Let me, right there. Yeah, there we go. That's not as retarded. All right, so let's play this real quick. I want to hear this. It's one of the heads of the Economic Council. I want to hear what he has to say about Trump. 1 second. Oh, God. And then I can't even, 1 second. 1 second. I move it over here to hit the play button. I'll get a better setup here eventually. I'll figure it out.
And aluminum, the White House's reaction to Friday's softer than expected jobs report, and much more. Let's welcome White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. It's good to see you, Kevin.
Good to see you, my friend. I'm glad you're feeling better. I missed you last
feeling
week.
Good.
Yeah, good.
Feeling good. Got some adjusting, but I didn't need that organ.
Can we talk about the Treasury letter first? I know we were talking about something else,
right,
but you guys just showed it to me. I'd like to respond to it if you don't mind.
I figured you would. I barely said anything, but I got in my 2 cents anyway from all of our nonpartisan civil servants at the Justice Department and all those federal agencies.
Let him talk, Joe.
But go ahead, Kevin.
You remember all those CIA guys that lost their security clearances? This letter reminds me of that. There's so much misinformation in it. Let's just make it clear. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, is in charge of the Treasury. The Treasury Secretary has found that the controls for spending of the previous administration were unacceptable, that they were sending money out without knowing where the money was going. They were sending money out without flagging, what it was for. They didn't check before they sent the money out whether it was appropriate.
I think every accountant in America right now, in every CFO, all the controllers of every organization in America right now are sitting there going, yeah, dude, we need to vote Republican next time because this is so bad.
And as we go in and look, we're finding lots of things that shouldn't have been sent.
Wait, so things that weren't appropriated? Kevin, that's a big deal.
It could, the point is they could be appropriated, but there was no guarantee. They weren't putting in a control to make sure it was appropriated even. So Kevin, you got to add up all the, because they're sending you checks like 50 at a time, 30 at a time, 70 at a time. And so they're not saying, oh, yeah, this adds up to this. And so that's why you can send it now. And so there's a lot of work to be done to clean that up. Treasury Secretary's doing it. I think, Elon Musk is in the office next to me. He's not.
Isn't it ridiculous how badly our government was being managed before this administration? It's just insane. The fact that there weren't checks and balances for basic accounting is frightening. Yeah, even my family members. I literally, for people who don't know, I went to a family outing yesterday with people who were liberal and I knew that had voted for Joe Biden like I had in the previous election, right? But they were more liberal than I am. And so I was worried to talk about politics. I'm just trying to avoid it. I've already lost good friends. So I'm trying to avoid talking about politics. But then in the conversation, it started to lead that way because they wanted to know about my social media and how I was making money and stuff. And I said, hey guys, I just want to be really clear. I am very outspoken in my beliefs politically. You might not love it. And then somehow we got to the point where they're like, oh yeah, no, I've switched too. And they told me that they literally like, no, fuck it. Yeah, I voted for Joe Biden last time, but we voted for Trump. And we're really happy about what he's doing. And I was like, well, you're going to love my social media then. But it was so weird to see these guys. I wouldn't have thought they would be people that would, come into the fold and change sides. Awesome to see. There's going to be a lot more of that. The polling data I'm going to show you guys in a minute is just awesome. There's so much. We got a lot to cover. I better get to it. Without further ado.
Not in control. That's the other thing I want to say. This idea that there's a puppet master telling the Treasury Secretary what to do, and therefore all the Treasury Secretaries need to be alarmed. That's just left-wing media, poppycock. It's just not true.
Can I just clarify though? We're questioning the controls, not whether or not the money was actually appropriated. We don't know that for sure, but that's what this is about.
But if you don't have controls, you have to then add up what you spent and make sure that it was aligned with what was appropriated, and they weren't even doing that.
Hey, Kevin, here's the question that I would ask,
So
which is,
bad.
I would imagine most, if not all Americans, support the idea of looking at where money's going, making sure it gets to the right places, making sure fraud and abuse and all of that is happening, that it is eliminated. I don't think there's any question about that.
Right.
I think the question mark right now is about the transparency of this particular process around the individuals who are engaged and involved in this particular activity.
The question is about our government,
whether they've been vetted,
fucking us
how that's
for
worked,
years,
and what kind of transparency there is around that process. I would only just say that to the extent that,
that's why we want to put it on a blockchain to make it transparent.
Needs to happen here. And I imagine that actually the Treasury Secretaries who wrote that letter or that op-ed agree with what needs to happen. Maybe they don't. I don't know.
There are a lot of good
but I think it would help enormously for the credibility of the entire exercise so that all Americans...
I love that Sorkin is talking about how we need to be more transparent. No shit. Thank you, Sorkin.
Feel really good about it, that there's a little bit more transparency around the individuals who are participating in it, where it's being fed in terms of AI and other things that makes people nervous. All of that, could that be done to try to actually make everybody get behind what you're doing?
Yeah, thanks for that. And I'll give you some transparency. Okay, so what's going on is that we have antiquated computer systems that make it hard for people to do their jobs and follow up the things that taxpayers and these former Treasury Secretaries want them to do. And I don't know how many exact DOGE employees there are in the Treasury Department. You could ask the Treasury Secretary, but I don't think you could count them on one hand. And they're just helping people get good computer systems so that we can check and see what the numbers really are. And the point is, why is everybody so anxious and upset about the fact that we're going to get to the bottom of what we're spending our money on?
Yes.
Why is that a partisan thing? Why are we making up fake things about what Elon's doing? Because we're trying to just see where the money's going. And I think it's probably in the end we're going to find that a lot of money went to bad places.
You're wondering why there's a lot of people who don't know where the money was. You're really asking, is that a rhetorical question?
If you're hiding where the money, if you're hiding where the money's going, then how come? How come?
I think I can think of a lot of reasons a lot of people would be not wanting.
So the one thing I'd like to say is you guys should start a poll. I can't do this. Right? I'm a government official. Of over/under on how much money that Scott Bassett finds that's actually spent that was misspent.
Get it back going.
Just you guys should start it.
Fraudulently?
Well,
Kevin,
or at least more than appropriated. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. But we have other stuff to talk about, guys. I know you want to talk about steel tariffs before I've got to.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Can I just ask one other question to Kevin, though? Because it was something we were talking to Tom Emmer about, which is, we are seeing that some of these payments, and we're looking and going, oh, these payments don't seem to make sense. For example, I will use just one example, and I'm not picking on them. I know they're a competitor of ours, but Bloomberg, people looked at these Bloomberg subscriptions and said, why does the government have Bloomberg subscriptions? And I thought to myself, I want a Kevin Hassett to have a Bloomberg terminal if he needs it. And I would want someone at the Treasury Department who's selling treasuries and bonds to have access to a terminal.
What about New York Times?
So I only say that because I think there's some nuance to what we're seeing. There are going to be subscriptions and other things that people may have questions about, but there is probably a need for some form of information. I would actually be upset if you didn't have it.
But even on this one, okay, so let's just go inside baseball. That I've found that even like within the complex that we had too many of those subscriptions, and I think it's completely sensible to have a few guys that really know how to get the answer quick to more senior people, so that you could aggregate demands for information from that.
I agree.
So
I'm just
specifically
saying
on
the idea
that
of just
matter that you talked about, we're saving the taxpayers' money. I just want you to know.
Look, if ultimately you get rid of most of the subscriptions, but you still have enough, that's fine too.
That's what we're doing. That's what
the money's eventually going to end up in Mike Bloom lining his pocket so he can do more climate change hysteria.
Yeah, you tell him, Joe.
Yeah, come on.
You tell him.
Amazing things for this country.
If Sorkin wants to get political, fuck him. Go after him.
I mean, I think
Bloomberg,
even you would agree that he's done amazing things for this country.
Remember when we had his campaign guy and say, just wait till this really takes off? He peaked at about 1.5%. So I don't know. The rest of the country didn't feel quite as
tariffs? Can we get to tariffs?
I want to talk about steel tariffs. That's why.
Kevin's going to let me keep going. Go ahead, Kevin. Does it make sense?
Yeah, Disney subscriptions. What the fuck are those for?
President Trump has made it clear that an important part of an America First golden age is steel production. And when we put the steel tariffs in last time, you might go back and look, right after the steel tariffs went in, it didn't cause manufacturing to go down. In fact, manufacturing jobs the next couple of years went up about 120,000 jobs right after the steel tariffs came in. And we could talk about why. And then under President Biden
oh no, Trump's going to create jobs for Americans. Honestly, guys, I think, too, that that's going to end up lowering the amount of illegal immigrants that we end up deporting. I think we're going to get rid of all the bad guys for sure. But I think that what we'll end up doing is just with the border locked down, there'll be people that stay, especially good families, people that have worked here for a long, long time. I think we'll end up doing something to try and just get them grandfathered in. But we just need to make sure that there's no more inflows and that that stuff is stopped and that people are coming in legally. So I think that we'll have to have people to fill the jobs. Automation too, AI, robotics, all this stuff will be used, but we'll have to have people to fill the jobs too.
Last year, we lost 100,000 jobs. And one of the things that's happened is that there was a lot of increased steel capacity after the steel tariffs came in, which, remember, were put in there so that if in case of war, we can have the steel we need to fight a war. That's what the president said. It was a 232 decision.
And we're going to need it.
And so steel capacity went way up. And then all of a sudden, there's waivers for this and waivers for that. There's hundreds of thousands of waivers. And so that the steel tariffs that were so effective before have been overwhelmed with waivers. And so President Trump, as he can do, is like, okay, so let's just stop the waivers, and he'll do so at a time of his choosing. The order is not out yet, but he said on, to us and on Air Force One that this is a high priority to make sure that America is ready for whatever may come in the future, and that we've got a strong and vibrant steel industry.
So how are you going to even the playing field? You talk about tax reciprocity around the world, and the president, Trump, is obsessed with balance of payments wherever they are. Some people don't think that I mean, we're a wealthy country. We're not going to change our balance. We're definitely going to consume more than most of our trading partners because we're able to. Kevin, is that the metric we should be using to decide whether there's an imbalance and whether we need tariffs from Mexico or for Canada or wherever?
It's just part of
the reciprocity. There are different ways to think about reciprocity, but if we're talking specifically about tariffs, just recall that almost every trading partner has much higher tariffs than we do. In fact, the only trading partner that's about where we are, and there's Canada and Mexico who are part of the trade deal, but outside of that, the UK has about the same tariff we do. The EU it's 2 to 3% higher. Taiwan, it's 10 or 11%, and India, and we're meeting Modi soon, has got a lot to talk about with the president because they have tariffs that I think the trade-weighted average is a little bit short of 20. Now I'm running it out of my head, so don't give me a Pinocchio. But they have high rates that are enormously high. They're lockout rates. And so President Trump believes that.
What happens when the lockout rates are corrected and we get Tesla in India? Woof.
At the very least, everybody should agree that if they're charging us 20, then we should charge them 20. And then if they go down, we'll go down. But that's the idea of reciprocity in the tariff space.
And we should have
Hey, Kevin, can I just ask you, yesterday, President Trump said something on Air Force One on his way to the Super Bowl about how maybe there was something at Treasury where we didn't have as much debt as we thought. Is that referring to debt that's already been issued that we might recall or say?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if the market's tiny. We should get in it. It's a huge developing market that's growing a lot. We should be in India. We should totally be in it. And again, they shouldn't be tariffing us to preventing us from being able to enter the market. We should have Tesla all over it, especially with these new cyber cabs. And when they get potentially a smaller, like steering wheel driven version of that, we want that for that market.
Is it needed, or is it more akin to what you were talking about at the top, which is?
It was the top. It was the top. As we're getting, back in the day.
Okay, so he's just simply saying that
radiologists.
We already covered this, where they had no control measures in place. There's a lot of bullshit data that's sitting out there. And so whatever, we don't need to talk about that more. Let me get back to my screen. Again, this is a janky method of doing this, but let me get back over here where there we go. Okay, now we're back at the right thing. So much work. All right, so much to go through. Gold hit a new all-time high over the weekend. I think even this morning at over $2,900. This is a precursor of what happens with Bitcoin. Somebody here said, EJ Antoni, PhD, said something just changed at the Fed. It went from losing hundreds of millions of dollars each week to generating a profit almost to $400 million last week. That being said, the central bank is still $220 billion in the hole with no payments to the Treasury anytime soon. So I put a summary here. The Federal Reserve recently shifted to profit despite being in a deficit. This changes does not immediately result in payments to the U.S. Treasury, suggesting a delay in potential. But more importantly, down here, another post, somebody said, the Fed reported its first weekly, and this is from, I don't even know where this is from, Seeking Alpha or something. The Fed reported its first weekly profit since September of 2022, earning $379 million, driven by policy normalization and quantitative tightening. QT has reached the Fed's asset liability mismatch, cutting fixed rates assets by 24% and the variable liabilities by 40%, improving operating results. 3 rate cuts totaling 100 basis points since September have lowered the Fed's borrowing costs, contributing to the improved financial performance. While the recent profit is technical, continued QT may lead. Oh, and I can't even see the bottom of this. Let me just bring this up. Got to fix my screens. To consistent profitability later this year, with cumulative losses impacting the Treasury until 2029. So, I think that the outlook for this is going to get even better with the incorporation of DOGE. Just wanted to throw it out there. Let's go back and move on. If anybody has any questions about any of this, please let me know. FNMA looking like a buy today. It probably is, but I'm just not focused on it. I still think that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac can do really well. I think they're establishing a base. We can look at the chart in a little bit. But again, I'm not focused on it. I'm focused on my core confidence, and that's going to be Bitcoin, that's going to be Tesla, it's going to be Archie, it's going to be TLT, it's going to be things that I think really have the best asymmetric upside, the highest success potential rate and probability associated with those big gains. So that's what I'm looking for. But I do think that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac can do well. I don't do day trading, though, so I can't really speak to that. Naval said, no entrepreneur is worried about AI taking their job. I agree. DOGE, with DOGE eliminating 1/3 of government, maybe it'll actually be fine. So bar chart said retail investor sentiment reaches highest level in history, probably fine. I've known these guys for a while. They actually helped my account grow quite a bit, so I love them. But I think they're trying to say that this is negative and it's dangerous, and because sentiment is so high that the market's going to roll over. Now that could happen because, again, I think tariffs could still cause a lot of chaos in the weeks ahead. I do believe that it'll start to dissipate, but the weeks, maybe months ahead, I think the pain might be front ran. I'm really leaning into that court because I think a lot of people are looking towards the back half of the year for the pain. But Donald Trump seems really ambitious on trying to get all the pain felt in the first quarter of his presidency, because we're going to be doing a lot. He's literally trying to roll through all these agencies, eliminate tons of debt, show people that we're serious about getting on a fiscally responsible course, even with cutting taxes and all this other stuff. And people are going to come around to it. So Colby James says, have you thought about Mara calls? Good asymmetry once we start running. I'm not touching any more calls. My last calls for Bitcoin for this cycle are CleanSpark ones. I'm not adding to anything else right now. Even though on Friday I did jump in more into my CleanSpark calls when we went up and it started to drop a little bit more. I went ahead and just piled into the rest of those CleanSpark calls out of the stock because I do think that they're going to end up doing really well, and I wanted to lower my cost basis since I was down pretty good on those. So again, leaning into the pain like I talked about before. So I believe, so all I was saying up here is I think when we eliminate 1/3 of government, all this is going to be fine. Sometimes the contrarian play is not the right one. And again, might be, might not be. I'm very up in the air with how much pain is going to be felt in the next month. I do not have a set path on that. It could go either way. Mark Nixon, breaking. Ontario NDP just announced food stamps for the middle-class Canadians. You heard that correctly. The economy is so bad under Liberal NDP policies that worker families can't even afford food with their middle-income people. This is, sorry, I shouldn't even get like laughing about that. It's pathetic. I pity people that live in Canada right now. Michael, he is based out of Europe, I think even Germany. He says the implosion of German economy is accelerating. This is what happens when left-green ideology replaces common sense. It's happening during good times. Most Germans don't understand it yet. What will happen to their jobs and society during the next global recession? It'll be brutal. I agree. It will be brutal. You can look here and see contribution to industrial production, a percentage. You could just see it's like it's heading towards pandemic levels. It's so bad. This is so bad. When you look at energy, consumer investment, intermediate, these data points are horrific. Germany's in trouble. Ontario is conservative. It doesn't matter. This is the entirety of Canada that's the problem. I don't care about the specific province. I'm just saying like the whole of Canada is a fucking mess. Housing is completely unaffordable in the country. It makes the United States look good, even states like California. All right, so I wanted to show this. I did a bunch of posts yesterday. A lot of this was off of ARC, Kathy Wood, ARC analysis over the weekend. She is brilliant. If you guys don't know this, I don't love the stock picks ever, at least like most of them, but her long vision of what's going on in the world and her macro views are actually really brilliant, and nobody talks about them, which I find astonishing. So this chart right here says the metal gold's ratio has been dropping, or I said the metal gold ratio has been dropping strongly as gold prices skyrocket and metals do not. In green, you can see the 10-year treasury yield has went up. There's an obvious historic correlation between these two metrics over the last 30 years. So what happens next? My take, I think that we'll see metal prices rise in a growing economy, which will drive the purple line up. This is the same take essentially as Kathy. But I also think that the bond vigilantes will eventually surrender when they realize that DOGE means business and that the government is becoming more sustainable. Plus, real Donald Trump is pushing hard to have countries buy the long end of the curve, which will create more pressure downwards. Now, I think they're going to be doing this. Michael Howell had a post about in his Substack about stable coins, and I don't know if I totally understand his thoughts after reading it. I don't know if it's really fleshed out, and maybe it's him, maybe it's me. It's probably me, but I need to read it again. But I do believe that stable coins will actually help with liquidity of the U.S. dollar in ways that are a lot more efficient. And then at the same time, I think with Trump pushing to have people basically buy the long end of the curve, whether it's just because of all the efficiency that we're creating and the growth that we're creating and the policies that are very pro-growth, or whether it's literally us leaning on them and being like, hey, we're going to make this Plaza Accord type deal with Mar-a-Lago Accord, whatever, where we're going to be like, you got to do this. Otherwise, we ain't working together. And I think the tariffs, but I think the way he gets to that is by pushing tariffs hard. The Stephen Moran plan of literally using tariffs as a weapon to get people to the table for the Plaza Accord. But what I was saying here is I believe that what will happen here is we'll see some kind of convergence towards the two. And I believe that the 10-year could get in the 3s, maybe even the 2s, and the year, or maybe even in 2026, I think that rates will start to drop at the long end of the curve, which is good. We want that to happen. We want some downward pressure to be created. So I think these things will find a median, and maybe it's up in the 3s over here where the 10-year is going to be and the metal prices will go up. I don't know. But I do think with pro-growth, you're going to see some of that. All right, let me go down here. Kobayashi said the U.S. consumers' 12-month inflation expectations surged to 4.3%, the highest since November of 2023. This marks a 1.7% point jump from the last 3 months, the largest since February 2020. This has largely exceeded expectations, yada, yada. So I think that this is University of Michigan. I think that these inflation expectations are overestimated. I don't think they're going to be what these people think they are at all. And so I think that this will end up rolling over and coming down. And I think we're going to get hints of some of that in the data that comes out from the CPI later this week. Let's see here. Kobayashi says key events this week: Trump's reciprocal tariff announcement Monday. I don't even know if we have that yet. If you guys see that coming up, please let me know. Amit says, is this argument that stablecoins become distribution mechanism to distribute U.S. debt to anyone globally, creating more demand? You're going to have more. You're probably going to. It depends. You're probably going to have you'll have more demand with the stablecoin providers, because you got to remember companies like Tether are buying treasuries, and some of those are longer dated ones. A lot of them are longer dated treasuries, right? So if stablecoin market grows, then yes, the demand for those treasuries ends up growing too. But again, it's going to be more than just the stablecoin issuers that are buying the treasuries on the back end to be able to create more dollar liquidity on the front end, which helps, because then you could see velocity of money get better because it's just more easily traded and there's not as much fees and banking fees. There's a lot of good things that will happen with all of that. But anyway, so the reciprocal tariff thing, I think, is the big thing today. Then we have Fed Chairman Powell and a bunch of other people talking over the next couple of days. But then CPI, PPI is going to be big Wednesday and Thursday, and then retail sales Friday. And he said 20% of S&P companies report earnings this week. S&P earnings, just so you know, 62% have already reported, 79% beating median of 6%, 20% missing median of negative 3%. So it's actually, the earnings are still really good this quarter. Like I said before, we kind of knew that was coming because, again, we look at other tools like FactSet to be able to determine what's going to happen with earnings. There's actually a lot more people here than I expected. If you guys could hit the like, we're nearing 1,100. That's not bad for after the Super Bowl on a Monday. Fibonacci Investing said, they say don't fight the Fed. Well, I say don't fight the Trump. Long TLT. I agree with this. This is a summary of Bloomberg AI that said Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the Trump administration's focus is bringing down 10-year Treasury yields, not the Federal Reserve's benchmark short-term interest rate. They're focused on the long end of the curve. I think that's the right move. Let me see. Are my other charts in here? I thought I had other. Let me refresh this real quick. I feel like some of my charts are not showing up because I had a lot more stuff that I was posting outside of just this one. And maybe I've got to do them in a link. This is what I hate about bookmarks. Here we go. We got a bunch more. So we got more stuff to talk about. So Tom Lee said on February 8th, Saturday, I think. Last two Fridays, market opens up and sells into close. Last two Mondays, market opens down and closes up. So look out for that in 2025, he said. I said oil, I believe, is at its lowest levels in the last 3 years, and I strongly believe that the real Donald Trump will push it lower. Now, as I say that, oil is popping a little bit today, but that's because of some of the reciprocal tariffs that China is putting on the United States in the energy sector, and then farming equipment and a few things like that, where they're trying to apply pressure with us, and then we're just going to hit them with more pressure. Again, it's going to get fun. So maybe over the short term, we get a little bit of a bounce on this before we roll over. I said, not here in the States. We're going to do the smartest thing of all and move to a flat tax, not income. So somebody up here. So again, there's these conversations. I said you'd think more people would understand how much this changes the concept of GDP, but 90% of people don't seem anywhere close to getting it. So there are a bunch of people that are like, this person put, the tax loss will be too great. So having robots evidently creates tax loss that's going to be too great. That's really just a very, very tiny way of looking at this without incorporating everything, because the tax loss is nothing. Regular average hourly workers don't really pay a lot of the taxes, guys. The rich people pay the taxes. They pay the vast majority of it, right? That's how things work. So, and the rich are going to get richer because if you, and the common people are going to get richer because if you're selling a robot for $30,000 that can do all of your normal physical human labor, that's going to benefit you too. People don't seem to understand the concept of abundance, but they said, oh, the tax loss will be too great. I would imagine the countries most affected by a robot workforce will introduce a robot tax. Maybe, but I said maybe they don't have to here in the States. We're gonna do the smartest thing of all and do a flat tax, not income tax. And then people are like, oh my God, flat taxes are so bad because it hurts the poor so much. Well, I mean, if the poor are conservative with their money, then they're going to be paying such a tiny ass fucking tax bill. They shouldn't have a problem. So again, and there's things you can do for the very poorest in the community to maybe even negate the flat tax for them, right? The bottom 20% or 25 or whatever. I don't know. There's things you can do, or maybe give them some kind of credit. we can figure all this out. But here's what I can tell you. Having a bunch of robots replacing human beings for jobs is not a bad thing. And it doesn't matter how much you want to make it a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. All right. I hate the way the bookmarks reshuffle. Such bullshit. All right. So let's see here. So February 8th, I said yes. So this is Chicken Genius. He said there's a high probability markets will pump soon, purely based on forward guidance by the Fed. Monday trade fi should pump like second week. He said on page 83 of the report, sort of guiding towards the end of QT. It was extremely vague, but that's the Fed's language. It says Fed forward guidance is a communication tool used by the Federal Reserve to influence the public's expectations about the Fed's future. So again, if it is in there, and if they're slowing down on quantitative tightening, that will be a good thing. And I said something in here, so I want to add more color to it because I put I reposted this, and I think people got confused by my comments because I was like, yes. So I need to clarify. So, and let me fix something real quick. I do need to get this displaying better for Bitcoin in the bottom right. Okay, so that's our price. We're looking good on Bitcoin. Love that. Love that for Bitcoin. But I said, I 100% agree, brother. So maybe not 100%, but said DOGE is putting us on a path to a balanced budget for 2026. If that's true, yields are going to come down at the longer end. This will not only help people, companies that are struggling with debts, but it will help the government with refinancing over $8 trillion in debt later this year. We're actually heading towards a golden age. People just don't see it yet. The only caveat I would add is tariffs. Again, could cause short-term pain, but for the long term, we're doing really good. I said, but if I'm right, we'll see things like TLT starting to go up in the weeks and months ahead. And Hannibal seems to agree over here. So let's keep going. So again, I agree with what he said, but at the same time, there's some caveats. We could have more pain. All right, let's keep going down. We're talking about different timelines, minus short-term. Okay, I'll skip that for now. Yep, we did that. Sorry, some of these things are just so out of order. Do people even realize that real Donald Trump is talking about tariffing every country in equal proportion to what they tariff us? So again, we heard a little bit of that today from the Economic Council advisor talking about how that's going to be coming. Geiger Capital, he had a good post here. He said, holy shit, I thought this was a typo. In just January, 1 million immigrants, legal and illegal, gained a job. Meanwhile, native-born Americans gained just 8,000. All net jobs, gains, post-COVID are immigrants. This is why they opened the border. Yes, it is, for cheap labor. It's so weird that the Democrats are like, we need slave labor. It's so fucking weird. I just don't know. Do I think Robinhood will pump after earnings? Maybe. I mean, it's already doing pretty good. But it's going to be really dependent upon what happens in the markets, guys. And today we got MicroStrategy up 2.21%. We got MAR up 1.67. We got Iron up 2.73. We got CleanSpark up 1.85 again. So miners are starting to look pretty resilient. I think that's a narrative that's shifting and probably going to just get better and better and better. Let's see here. All right, so I got some more that I wanted to show you guys. If these things will stop resorting, it should be good. Let me see here. One sec. I fucking hate how this works. Oh, here we go. This is one I wanted to show you for sure. The velocity of M2 money supply has been on a declining trend since the dot-com bubble. So if you look here, guys, you can see when Clinton became the president, there was this NPR group, not National Public Radio or whatever, but there's this NPR group that was basically like DOGE to try and basically make government more efficient, right? So on top of screwing interns on the Oval Office desk, he did do some things, right? And so Bill Clinton was, at his time, that was the last time we actually had balanced budgets in this country. So you got to give him some credit. But you can see how the velocity of money was kind of doing a slow ramp, and then it ramped a lot after doing that. So I want to make the argument that after we create a bunch of government efficiency, we're going to see increases in the velocity of money. But what's money been doing since, the dot-com bubble? It's just been going down. So this perpetual money printing that we've been doing, let me just zoom in here. This perpetual money printing that we've been doing and this mismanagement and the bloat of government creation has been hurting us and going down and down and down. It's only after the pandemic where, again, we printed a bunch of money that it made the velocity increase temporarily. Kathy Wood thinks this is going to roll over a little bit. I think that could happen over the short term too, but I think other things are happening, and I wanted to speak to them. I said a slowing velocity of money is bad for the economy because you want money to exchange hands as much as possible because it ends up benefiting more businesses and people each time it does. Just think about it. Like somebody buys something from a store, the store takes that money, they're able to pay employees or maybe hire another one, and then that person has money and then they can transfer or they can go buy things. It's good, right? You want velocity of money and exchanging hands. That's the whole Keynesian argument, is that you need inflation to be able to increase the velocity of money, albeit if you look up here, that has not worked very well for the velocity of money over the last 25 years. Interesting point. Well, let's keep going. I said, so why did velocity start to slow aggressively? My main guess is government bloat from several wars that really accomplished nothing. I go, look at how velocity started to plummet after September 11th, 2001. So again, after the dot-com bubble, we got the war machine started, and it never really stopped. And just government bloat, government size, all those things increased. And so my argument is that the combination of war and just government inefficiency and bureaucracy really fucked us after the dot-com bubble, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And it wasn't 2008 that really started the core of our problems. It was 2000. It was September 11th. It was these endless wars which are very unproductive. So let's just jump down here. So I want to say something. So why did velocity start to slow? My main guess is government bloat and several wars that really accomplished nothing. Look at how the velocity started to plummet after September 11th. This is when we started printing tons of money for the forever wars of Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, etc. If you look below, you can see confirmation of the timing of these start of these wars and an incredible ramp in government debt. So again, September 11th, right around here, guys, look at what's happened with our government debt since it. So I don't think a lot of people talk about this, so I wanted to speak to it. I said, so one could make the conclusion that the government bloat really started to get out of hand around this time, which is conveniently while the military-industrial complex and big government started to really ramp. Is anyone surprised that bigger government slows down the velocity of money because of corruption, inefficient distribution? Because I'm not. And then I said, but this does beg the question, what happens when we remove the bloat, lower taxes, embrace technological advancements that are increasing at an ever-expanding rate? My guess, this. So I think we're getting ready to change this. And so this differs a little bit from what Kathy was talking about, or maybe her timeline's different and I just haven't talked to her. But I do think that what we're looking at is going to be greater productivity in the months, especially quarters and years ahead. Bitcoin getting near 98,000. It looks like the day's getting a little better, guys. I said, so Mirage Mogul was talking here. I said, it's hard to know for sure, but my thought is that the government is willing to endure short-term pain for long-term gains. And DOGE is making TLT look like it's very attractive. Also, make sure you listen to the words of Stephen Moran because we seem to be working off his playbook. Okay, so that's one I think I talked about the other day. Let me keep rolling down here. What we're currently seeing is a bull flattener. Okay, that's an old one. Oh, I hate the way these bookmarks work. They just suck. Okay, here's a good one. So I go, people are underestimating the decline we're going to see in CPI data from rentals and housing. Tons of apartments were built because single-family homes were unaffordable. Now we're deporting millions of illegal immigrants, maybe, I don't know how many millions it'll be, which reduces housing rental demand while the new supply of rentals comes online at the same time. And think about when existing homes come on too, if we end up lowering the long end of the curve and rates start to drop, prices in a lot of different environments. And some of this is anecdotal, but if you look at Redfin and a bunch of other data, I haven't looked at that in a while. Maybe I'll have to pull that up, or I haven't shown it in a while. I should show some of that data because there's some good stuff in there, just about geographic locations and things like that in regard to housing prices. But with us deporting millions of illegal immigrants and legal immigrants, and a decent of which work for a living. I said this is going to reduce demand, but some of these guys too, they're collecting $1,500 Social Security checks, like double what somebody who, an average person who worked their whole life, put into the system and is getting paid back. It's like double the payments. But there's all these things happening where this is just going to continue to drive down prices. And if you look here, new rents leads rents lower. New tenant rent is like a leading indicator of what's going to happen with rents. If you look here in black, the new tenant rent has just plummeted to negative territory. If you look over at the CPI owner's equivalent rent of residence, that's in green, and then also the rent of primary residence, in purple, you'll see they're all coming down. I think these numbers are going to drop like a fucking rock. And so I think people are underestimating how much downward pressure this is going to have on inflation. And I don't think you should be some of the people that are underestimating that. Adam said, do you think Tesla drops below 350 to the 300, 330-ish range? If it does, it's going to be for very short-lived. I actually think it's probably finding the bottom now. Luca reposted my market open today, so I want to thank Luca for that. We've had a little bit of a spat back and forth, probably mostly my fault, but I appreciate him doing that. He said the Federal Reserve's reverse repo has hit its lowest inventory in over 4 years. What do you think this means? I don't know if I had a comment to that, but let me see. I probably did. I feel like I would have a comment. Yes. Okay. Oh, okay. This is where I said the TLT Doge and this playbook. And he said, I appreciate your answer. I agree, though lately I sold all of my TLT to buy the crash a few days ago. I look forward to buy back in a few weeks. That's probably not a bad plan. He might be able to do that. TLT right now trading down 0.07%. So he might have an opportunity. Markets are probably going to be awesome tomorrow. I was completely wrong about that. They were not awesome. Let me see if I have some of these other charts in here real quick that aren't old. I hate the way this shit sorts because it's just retarded. February 8th, Charles Gasparino. Elon Musk comments that at JP Morgan conference in Miami, he said Doge will eliminate so much government wasted spending that inflation will be down 2% in the next year or so. This is so crucial and key, guys. These are the kind of things that you want to keep your ears out for, okay? And there's a bunch of other things that Elon said at that JP Morgan conference. I don't know if Farzad or somebody has posted the entirety of that video, but I would like to see it. I've only seen little clips here and there. If anybody knows of a location where it is stored, please let me know. Tag me in a post. Austin said, good morning, Jesse. Saylor bought more BTC. Yeah, what did we end up getting? Let's just check here real quick. We knew he was getting more BTC, right? Because he already posted about it. But let's see exactly what he ended up getting super fast. I have so much to talk about, guys. There's so many posts. I've really got to start rocking and rolling because there's just so much to go through. He acquired another 7,600 Bitcoin, guys. So we're producing 450 a day. So he acquired like 13 days supply, 14 days supply. I don't know. Somebody do the math. I feel like that's a pretty big number. And this happens every week. So every week, Michael Saylor consumes essentially on pace for much more than is produced from Bitcoin miners. And people think that the stock isn't going up and that Bitcoin isn't going up. I don't know what to tell you people. By the way, we have about 36 minutes until the market opens. We will jump around when that happens. How do we make bank of the expected inflation drop? TLT. The expected inflation drop will make it to where people aren't worried about inflation. And if they're not worried about inflation, they're going to want to lock in high rates in the bond market. And the 20-year bond ETF, TLT, will be a good one. Again, the 10, the 30, all these people will start locking in some of their money so that they can make set income and get paid their divvies. So TLT is a great way to do that. And again, it's going to perform, the calls I'm in are going to perform at 11x the underlying. So not only is it a great hedge, but even if the market does well, there's going to be a number of people that don't just go to stocks. They're going to be buying the bonds to prepare for a market downturn in the future and lock in the rates right now before they start to the yields get too low. James Ian Thorns said, like I told you, it's all spelled out. Been talking about this for months. And this is just about, again, David Sachs saying that stablecoins are going to create trillions in demand for treasuries. I agree. Again, this is all great, guys. Like the stablecoin market and the legislation that we're going to see over a very quick period of time is going to help a lot. Let me see if I can find these other posts. Oh, I hate. Sometimes the bookmarks are great. Oh, here's another good one. I'll have to link these better in the future so that once I find the chain, I just find it. But this is stuff, again, I posted to subs. Let's keep going. I have a strong belief that ever-increasing income taxes combined with lowering of tariffs was a contributing factor to the Great Depression. So again, these are just like over the weekends, I get bored sometimes and I want to since markets are closed and everything's kind of quiet, I use that as an opportunity to delve into different theses that I have. And by the way, Bitcoin 98.2, guys, looking good over in the corner. But so I said, I believe this is a contributing factor to the Great Depression. Now, there are other factors. You got to realize, guys, with the Great Depression, we were giving people 10x leverage. So like if you had $1,000 to buy stocks, which is a lot of money back then, we would give them the ability to buy $10,000 worth of stocks. So there was some other problems that kind of fucked everything up back then, along with, again, protectionism, which sounds similar to today, but it's really not, because the world was just a different place back then. But we're going to focus on this vein of thought. If anybody has any questions, throw them out and I'll be happy to answer them. I said it's time to reverse that approach to create a golden age for America. So get not just focus on income tax, focus on the external revenue service, which is, again, going with tariffs. Note, to resolve the Depression, we had to plummet our failed income tax experiment, and we never looked back on tariffs. It was a huge mistake. So if we look here, you can see how we used tariffs the entirety of this country's existence, and then just really killed them around 1940, where we went to income tax. But the Great Depression was over here in the red line, right? And if you look, we were shooting income taxes up massively as a percent of federal receipts. It was like 82%. And so we launched it up, then it dropped, then we launched it up even higher, pushed it to extremes while we were dialing back our tariffs. And I think that was just like one of the key triggers that caused the Depression, and that left it long lasting. But we had 83% of tax receipts being income tax, and then obviously that plummeted because of the Depression, because nobody had money. And then we just went back to the norm again and just kept taxing the shit out of people between corporate and individual taxes. I think that this has been a big mistake. I think that the tariffs are a better way. For a long time, we've had really low tariffs and everybody else has had really high. And we looked at that as, hey, we're going to benefit these smaller countries and allow them to grow, and our success will grow together. And that was a great way to look at it for a period of time. But China is not a developing nation anymore, and there's no reason why they should have, again, preferential treatment on tariffs and be able to act like they're some tiny little they're, I don't want to say Argentina, but some small country that's just growing and trying to get larger. It shouldn't work that way, and we're done having people suck off our tits and take all of our money. We've helped the world. It's time we focus back on America, and I would say that that's what Trump is trying to do, right? So I believe that this is the approach we're taking, and I think it's a good one. Let's keep going here. I might have a few other things I wanted to talk about. Make sure I didn't miss anything. And again, if I can't find the rest, it's not the end of the world. I just want to find things that are more relevant. Shipping costs are near historic lows. Demand is drying up. Again, the Baltic Dry Shipping Index, I did another post this morning. It's really, really low, guys. So we're not seeing any kind of major shipping demand. I did have some more here. I see one of them. Yeah, okay, I've got a couple in here. So let's pull it up. Sorry, right here. So again, I said DOGE and real Donald Trump will eliminate our federal deficit for 2026 next year. So this is, again, talking about how Bill Clinton had a program that helped reduce spending called NPR, National Performance Review, and it got renamed later, I think. But it said only at one other time in history has this been done over the last 55 years. It actually, and it was done under Truman too, which was even like much better, honestly. But again, in the last 55 years, this is true. So Bill Clinton's presidency, this implications of this change will be profoundly a positive impact on our economy over the decade ahead, especially when including other positive factors like robotics, autonomy, AI agents, genomics, and so many other advancing sectors that are moving at light speed and compounding off of each other. And I said, important, Bill had a commission like DOGE. This is called the NPR. Can you imagine how much better this new DOGE group is with Elon Musk heading it? So we can see what happened during Bill Clinton's presidency, right? You can see over here in 1993 where he had started, and you can see this is federal budget deficit or surplus % of nominal GDP. So we had a really bad deficit. It was not in a good course, right? Then he did this NPR review, and he didn't spend a lot during his presidency, whether you love him or hate him. And we saw that turn into a surplus of 2.5% of GDP, which was amazing. So we were very pro-growth in the 90s up until the dot-com bubble, really, and a little bit after the dot-com bubble before we started to roll over again. But this is what we want, guys. We want to create efficiency. When we do it, it's going to make us wealthy. You could see how we had this shitty trend. You could see this trend was even shittier. And my argument now is that we're going to be on a course where we create a surplus, or at least balance the budget. Hey, Jesse, since you bought TLT to 2027 OP, they explode. Do you think that they have more potential in 2026 January or 2027 for now? I'm buying myself time in case things go awry because I think that we're definitely lowering our deficit and that we're going to be and so I always want time. Now, could January 2026 be a better one? Yes, but you have to realize that this is a bond market, and bonds normally historically don't move as quickly as a stock would. Now, that doesn't mean they can't, but again, if you look over here, we had a 36% increase, but what did that happen over the end of December 2013 to the peak of January 2015. So this went up 36% in about a year, a little over a year, but I'd love to give myself 2 to be right, as always. But over here, you can see we went up 59% over here from November of 2018 to March of 2020. So this was about a year and a half, a little less than a year and a half. We went up 60%. But again, I want to give myself 2 years so that this can play out the way I want it to. And I do believe in that 2-year time frame, we could see a 60% move like we saw over here, because I think what DOGE is doing is amazing. And I think the pro-growth policies of Trump are going to be amazing. And so I want to prepare myself for the ability to be able to do that. And when the thing that I'm invested in has an 11x the underlying, if it does in fact move up 60% to this golden retracement line, I like the idea of almost 700% in gains. And if I only make 300% in gains, I have $500,000 in this, so that gets me to $2 million. I'm happy with that too. But I think it's a great hedge that can potentially hedge my entire portfolio from downside risk. That's why I like it so much. I hope that answered your question. I don't know. Whatever. Let's go. Let's keep going. Jesse, would you mind replacing the name Bill Clinton with the name Newt Gingrich? It was Newt in the House. Yeah, sorry. I'm just trying to... I don't think most people even know who Newt is, but I'm trying to align it with the presidency. And again, he helped it along, right? So to me, it doesn't really... It's not like I'm giving him credit. I'm just saying that was a time where we did it, and that's what we ended up seeing from it. And it's good. It's good that he was kind of a hands-off president, unless you were an intern. Then he was very hands-on. Scott Abate, would you... Yeah, that was you. Amit, Jesse, would you ever consider rolling out of Tesla Leaps if Black Swan event keeps us from hitting our targets this year? No, because my TLT would... If we have a major Black Swan event, I'm probably making $4 to $5 million in TLT. And so, no, I would just buy more and maybe push it out in the time frame. That's the idea. All right, so I think we're good. I do have a couple more here on the U.S. economy thing, and I think they're close, so I want to speak to it. And again, Jeff Park, I love this guy. Just again saying U.S. Treasury's Besant. Trump wants lower interest rates, focused on 10-year, 100% focused on 10-year, guys. And I'm just going to reiterate this while I'm here, but when you have a good January, there's a really good chance that ends up turning out good for the entire year. That's what this chart is representing. So be excited about that. And there's one more chart I saw down here. I want to get to it. Also, I said the junk bond market is seeing absolutely no concerns right now. If you look here, we got the S&L crisis. We got the dot-com bubble. We've got the great financial crisis of 2008. We've got the Euro debt crisis. We got the China slowdown. We got COVID. And we've got the banking collapse. Right now, we got jack shit. So this is a positive sign for the economy, guys. We look like we're on very stable footing, and the biggest threats we have, people are concerned about inflation, which I am not concerned about, and they're concerned about tariffs. So if inflation isn't going to be a concern, and tariffs are going to end up fading away because we're going to be very aggressive in the beginning, and then we're going to start finding a new normal, and we'll see economic data that comes out. I think we're like 2 months, and we're going to have a lot of this shit behind us, and I love that. Should I dial more into TLT Leaps? That's up to you, Dylan. I have about 15%, I want to say, in them right now. That's between 2 sets of Leaps at 100 and 110 strike for January 2027, and I own stock too. So if TLT continues to go down, I'll sell that stock and I'll buy more Leaps. Again, that's how I do it. Shamath said, this is a stunning chart. America is the source of innovation that moves the world. In billions of dollars, this chart right here is showing leading countries for venture capital investments worldwide. And this is in 2024. And China's share is probably likely to drop even more in 2025. So we are the world when it comes to VC and just growth of software, all this stuff. I don't think there's any more here. I think we're done. Let me just see if there's anything else interesting I have not covered. No, we're good. So that's good on that front. Let's move on. We're going to jump over to the Department of Government Efficiency, and then we'll go back over to Trump, and then we'll talk Bitcoin and all the other stuff. So Elon said the DOGE team, this is 4 hours ago, just discovered that FEMA sent $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal immigrants. FEMA was paying luxury hotels to house illegal immigrants. If you don't think the things that we're doing are going to be more cost beneficial than prohibitive, I don't know what to tell you, man. We're going to be doing really good. when you're paying to house illegal immigrants in luxury hotels, something's broken. Sending this money violated the law and is a gross insubordination to the president's executive order. That money is meant for American disaster relief and instead is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals. A clawback demand will be made to recoup those funds. Good. That's what should happen. At some point, all DOGE discoveries need to go from discoveries and scandals to actual prosecutors in jail. Oh, all that's happening. It's all going to be about transparency and getting that stuff cleaned up. This was interesting, too. So this is USAID Cairo 114. This guy, Larry Alex Taunton, went into this facility and said, hey, so I got into this USAID facility. And let me just show you this. This is kind of interesting. I'll go through it quick. He said, I drove down here to get into this USAID facility. I had to drive by these barriers to get into it. My driver in the car while I walked the perimeter looking for an entrance. So there's no USAID signage of any kind on this citadel of corrupt bureaucracy. Look at this thing. This is in Cairo, guys. This is what our money was funding. And then over here, I finally found the inconspicuous entrance. A sentry stood aside as I walked right past him as if I was a pharaoh. So look at this. This is the security door to get into it. And then he basically said he kept trying to get in and trying to get in and trying to get in. And then he was asking them, like, are you shutting down? And the guy said, yeah, we're going to shut down. And then other people are like, wait, who are you? What are you doing here? And then somebody... It says on the affirmative, I must call my supervisor. He said, I could feel this going sideways. Sitting down at the request of one of the secretaries, I then snapped this pic. My supervisor would like your ID. I already showed you my ID. I need to write it down, he said. Your name, I'll give him mine if he'll give me his. Little did I know that the government, or at that moment, they were going after his security guard. Or his driver. So this guy is like, this is a really fucking sus bullshit. There's this big military facility, like almost at this place. This is the guy who was talking to his supervisor because he realized he screwed up. And he ended up having to leave it. But he's going to, and this is a New York Times guy, he's going to go back and try and see what's happening. So you got people at the New York Times going after USAID. And did you even know this? They're like facilities like this in Cairo, Egypt. I'm glad all this is getting shut down. This is good. This is good. This is what needed to happen, guys. And let me go back one more here. This is what needed to happen. USAID needed to go away. Elon Musk said all aspects of government must be fully transparent and accountable to the people, no exceptions, including, if not especially, the Federal Reserve. So Wall Street Apes posted, why is Elon Musk supporting Ron Paul leading an audit on the Federal Reserve such a big deal? Because the Fed has never had a full audit or a full disclosure of monetary policy decisions. This is the Fed we're talking about. This is Jerome Powell, guys. Example, the Fed got caught doing $500 billion in swap overseas with no oversight. That's fascinating. Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke was even questioned about giving his $500 billion in swaps to the central bank overseas. $500 billion, just whatever. We can just do that. No one gave approval, and he says he didn't need approval. We have a long-standing legal authority to do swaps with central banks. It's not an emergency authority of any kind. Section 14 of the General Federal Reserve Act. $500 billion, and you don't know who got the money. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. We're fixing all this, guys. Jesse, do you recommend getting out of gold with it being, I would lean, I honestly would probably, gold is not going to do nearly the multiple of what Bitcoin will, and gold usually front runs Bitcoin. So think about tax consequences and all this other stuff, but I would personally be leaning, I would be using this as an opportunity to dial into Bitcoin related investments. That's just me. Stevie G, at some point, all Doge discoveries, okay. Don, is there a site logging all of this corruption? Yes, there might be sites like that, and I'm going to be trying to track all of that. And we're looking to put it on a blockchain, too, for all of the spending that's done at the Treasury. Connor said, Jesse, could you provide your opinion on BlackBerry and the QNX software they have? Huge asymmetric. No, I don't care about BlackBerry at all, dude. Unusual whales breaking. Trump tells the U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies. We're getting rid of pennies because it costs us 2 cents to produce every penny. Fucking stupid. Department of Education no longer exists, Elon Musk says, per MSNBC. So there was a post, actually, where he said this. Elon Musk, February 8th. To be clear, what the DOGE team and U.S. Treasury have jointly agreed makes sense is the following. Require that all outgoing government payments have a payment categorization code, which is necessary in order to pass financial audits. This is frequently left blank, making audits almost impossible. All payments must also include rationale for the payment in the comment field, which is currently left blank. And importantly, we are not yet applying any judgment to this rationale, but simply requiring that some attempt be made to explain the payment more than nothing. The do not pay list of entities known to be fraudulent or people who are dead or probable fronts for terrorist organizations or do not match congressional appropriations must actually be implemented and not ignored. Also, it can currently take up to a year to get on this list, which is far too long. This list should be updated at a weekly, if not daily basis. The above super obvious necessary changes are being implemented by existing longtime career government employees, not anyone from DOGE. It's ridiculous that these changes didn't already exist. Yesterday, I was told that there are currently over $100 billion a year of entitlements payments to individuals with no social security number or a temporary ID number. If accurate, this is extremely suspicious. When I asked if anyone at Treasury had a rough guess for what percentage of that number is unequivocal and obvious fraud, the consensus in the room was about half. So $1 billion a week of utter fraud in this Social Security number. Payouts. Fucking insane. Okay? Insane. Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Reports, this is one of the people that can give you actual data about polling, said, "Hello, Senate, this time will be different. Every piece of pork will be highlighted on X by Elon Musk and Doge. Users like Data Republican." Oh, you were just asking about this. He's a good guy to follow too. It says crunching FedGov spending, election data maps, code, more. We'll blast it to voters how much you stole. Nicole Shanahan will fund your primary and independent creators will light you up. I love it. The CFB is not, Vivek Ramaswamy says the CFB is not funded by Congress, but by the federal government. An intentional gambit by Democrats that allows the CFB to evade congressional oversight. But that's a double-edged sword. If it isn't funded by Congress, that means the president doesn't need Congress to defund it either. Bye-bye, CFB. Knock, knock. FEMA's up next. Elon Musk, no kidding. Anna Solner, a director at Inner News, this is another organization that's going to disappear, also serves as the VP of communication at Reddit. Guess I better maximize my security. So this real quickly is interesting. So this is a Senator Republican from Indiana. Listen to what he has to say about anybody trying to audit the Pentagon.
You have a Pentagon that has billions of dollars that they hide. We don't ask for any accounting of. They never pass an audit in the history of audits. I've often said the only way we're really going to get to the bottom of this is somebody's going to walk out of one of these labs with this information and puts it out on the internet before they commit suicide by shooting themselves in the back of the head 5 times.
So Elon's like, I guess I better maximize my security. He should, actually. We should make sure that he's really well taken care of. All In Podcast had a really, really great video this last week too. And so let's listen to David Freeberg real quick here talk for 1 minute.
If you zoom out on what DOGE is doing, I think the best way to describe.
Remember, this guy is like scientific liberal Democrat, right? That's his background. He's very much more liberal than the rest of the crew outside of Jason.
It is zero-based budgeting. In organizations that go through zero-based budgeting, you do a cycle, typically annually, where you take all of your OPEX, all of your expenses, and running a company down to the studs. You take it down to zero, and you rebuild it up, and you say, what are we trying to achieve this year from first principles?
We're going to win, guys.
Expense we need to run. And that's what DOGE is effectively doing. They're doing a zero-based budgeting on the federal government. They're looking at every line item, and they're asking the fundamental question, which I don't think we talk about in the public discourse enough, which is, what is the essential role of government? And there is a great debate to be had around that point. Should government be...
Yeah, you could describe him as libertarian, too.
Providing humanitarian aid in international markets? Should the government be providing security to nations that can't provide security for themselves? Should the government be providing loans for people to go to universities? Should the government be providing loans for people to buy homes that are overpriced? And as we start to ask the questions of how we're spending money, I think it ends up leading to the most important questions, which is, what is the essential role of government, which I think is the debate that needs to be had in order for the democracy to last. So I'm very happy to see the effort of DOGE, and I think that it's the beginning of what I hope will be kind of a long-term process of asking the fundamental questions about essential government. If you zoom in,
I love this guy so much. There's so many good things happening right now. It's really, really good. Barzad, look at this. This is the bitch at the Pentagon saying that there's no fraud or corruption at the Pentagon. She's up next. She better be ready for this shit. Listen to this.
To be doing. Like, there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits and waste, fraud, and abuse are not the same thing. So let's
tell that to USAID.
Decompose
then
these
please
pieces
educate me on
sure.
What
so an audit is exactly what you just described,
yes.
Which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit, or the fact that the DOD has not passed an audit, is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false.
The censorship is YouTube.
So what is
now is a question of, it's suggestive that we don't have an accurate inventory that we can pull up of what we have where. That is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
So in my world,
yeah,
that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you are not responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think?
Yeah, exactly.
And when there has been reporting, I mean,
thank you, Jon
this
Stewart,
is not, look,
for being a rational human
I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this, but I think it's a tough argument to
I'm pretty
make
sure
that
I didn't cause it.
an $850 billion budget to an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went, like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for. And especially when they see food insecurity on military bases, and they see...
You want to talk about that? Because that's a good... we should be talking... I mean, well, I'm trying to understand where you're trying to go, other than the dollars, which really...
This is so... This woman, her mannerisms, the way she's responding, this is somebody who is on defense hardcore.
Bother you?
I think...
She has no argument.
It doesn't really bother me. I think it's all connected.
Okay.
I think
tell me that story. Tell me how you're thinking about that.
When I see a State Department get a certain amount of money and a military budget be 10 times that, and I see a struggle within government to get people like more basic services,
the cackling,
and then
true.
that department that got that, I mean,
exactly,
we got out of 20 years of war, and the Pentagon got a $50 billion raise. Like, that's shocking to me. Now, I may not understand exactly the ins and outs and the incredible...
Yeah, other than the dollars, which really bothers you. What a stupid fucking statement. You're right.
Magic of an audit, but I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's fucking corruption. I'm sorry.
Well said,
and
brother.
If that blows your mind, and if you think like that's like a crazy agenda for me to have, I really think that that's institutional thinking, and that it's not looking at the day-to-day reality of the people that you call the greatest fighting force in the world. So I get back to this idea of like, I'm not looking to pick a fight with you, but I am surprised at that the reaction to these questions are, you don't know what an audit is, bucko. Like, that's just weird to me.
Oh, I wish I could have had a longer clip of this because this is just fucking crazy and so good. So I put burn it all down. So this is the CF, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And again, that's what's happening. I love this kind of stuff. Let's just let him talk himself here.
Elon Musk. This message is for Elon Musk. Yo, bro, we want to thank you so much, man, for your hard work. Continue doing a good job. Don't listen to these people. These motherfuckers are crazy. We want to know where our money's going.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. This is Elizabeth Warren 15 years ago. Tell me if you don't think she became a part of the problem over that time. This is how she started out. Listen to this.
You know, when that much money disappears, it's usually because somebody broke some laws somewhere.
Really?
But if we don't look, if we don't ask, if we don't uncover it and make it all public, we'll never find out.
We are here to fight back.
I fucking love that. It just shows how crazy the world has gotten, right? J.D. Vance said if a judge tried to tell a general how to conduct a military option, that would be illegal. If a judge tried to command the attorney general and how to use her discretion as a prosecutor, that's also illegal. Judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. I agree. Mario Nawfal, Elon calls for impeachment of judge blocking government fraud investigations. Doesn't this guy just look like a piece of shit? Elon demanded the impeachment of the U.S. District Judge Paul Engelmeyer after he blocked access to Treasury records that expose government fraud. Elon, a corrupt judge protecting corruption. He needs to be impeached now. The judge's ruling follows lawsuits from 19 Democratic. So there's legislation getting put forth today, guys, into Congress from a Republican, I forget which one it is, that is going to try and basically make it to where they can't do any of this anymore. And so all of these, they're trying to queue stuff up to prevent DOGE from doing any more damage to all of their funding, but it's all going to go away. It's all going to go away. And so we're going after these guys. It's happening in a big way, and I'm all for it. Kobayashi letter, wow, this would be historic. So he's just getting excited about the fact that we can pay back our debts. Antonio, this was also from the All In Pod, just talking about how breaks down what he and Elon Musk discovered about the way money currently flows in the government. This is actually fascinating. I will play this real quick.
The way the government works, a department just basically asks for money from Treasury and they send it out. We all run businesses. There's a reconciliation process. You have a contract, you issue a PO against it, something.
I guess we don't have to. It's kind of redundant with the other stuff I talked about here. We already know that that's happening. We already know how bad it is. We talked about it. Breaking U.S. Attorney for D.C. Ed Martin just declared he's launching an investigation into the misuse of taxpayer funds and threats directed at DOGE employees. Love it. So again, we're doing stuff behind the scenes, guys. It's not just a matter of stopping the flow of corrupt money. It's also going after these people that need to be gone after. You either die a hero or live long enough to become the fraud. And and that we know where Elizabeth Warren is, right? I don't know if she was ever a hero. Mucho says Sachs torched the U.S. aid on the pods. Hilarious. Yeah, he did a great job going after it. Oh, no, that was you. Okay. Real quickly here, breaking 60,000 federal employees accepted Trump's buyout. We were hoping for 200,000. We got 60,000 so far, but I think that number is going to grow a lot. Otherwise, these people are just going to be done away with and they won't even get money. So that's their loss. Up from 40,000. That's all good. Rick Grinnell, U.S. taxpayers fund far-left state media. It's time to shut it down. Radio Free Europe and Voice of America are media outlets paid for by the American taxpayers. It is state-owned media. These outlets are filled with far-left activists. I've worked with these reporters for decades. It's a relic of the past. We don't need government-paid media outlets. It all needs to go away. I 100% agree with that. I agreed with that same statement when Trump was trying to have his own or whatever, his own news organization. I don't think government at any point should have anything like that. Jeff Lutz, or what if we need less tax revenue as a result of DOGE and people of all income levels keep more of what they earn? So Robert Reich, this guy's such a piece of shit. Delete the CFPB and IRS, abolish bank regulators, gut Social Security and Medicare. No, we're not doing these last two at all. All we're doing is getting rid of the corruption and fraud within them. The Musk-Trump administration's plots all boil down to the same thing: swindle working people, funnel money to the ultra-rich. Such bullshit. Department of Government Efficiency. Today, the Department of Government Efficiency, this was on the 7th, on Friday, terminated 3 DEI training grants totaling $15 million. Yeah, there's so many good things here. Let me see. I think this is good, though. I think that this is a lot of it. All right, so we're done with DOGE. We're done with U.S. economy. We're going to jump to Trump in a second, and then we're going to get Bitcoin and Tesla and everything else. But real quickly here, I am going to hit the restroom super fast. So I want to go back because there was some talk real quickly here. I just got to find it. There was some talk with China. There we go. Eunice Yoon. We got to listen to Eunice, guys. We got to listen to Eunice. So give me 1 second here. I'm just going to switch sources, and we're going to pull up Eunice Yoon because she is important to listen to. And again, this is a little janky because of the way that I'm having to do it right now. This will get better in the future. All right, so I'm going to play this, and I'm going to hit the restroom super fast while I do it, but let's listen to Eunice Yoon talk about what's going on in China in regard to the retaliatory tariffs that they've brought out and what the ramifications of that are. And let me just
more
put this
on that. But I think the market reaction this morning is just sort of like, you know what, let's just chill. Cut the noise out. Let's see what really happens, and then we'll figure it out as we go. Otherwise, the market will be down a lot more on a morning.
Be right back,
back
guys.
in 2016, if you put 25% tariffs on steel, and you're going to have more tariffs maybe rolled out later, reciprocal tariffs, et cetera, the market reaction would be probably different than it is today.
Yeah, it is remarkable. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this opinion piece in the Times by Summers, Rubin, Geithner, Liu, and Yellen. 18 years of combined Treasury Secretary experience, basically saying that DOGE is a threat to democracy. No other Treasury Secretary in his first weeks in office should be put in a position where it's necessary to reassure the world you're going to make good on your payments. And their argument is that Bessent had to do exactly that. And yet it's not reflected at all in what stocks have done in recent days. Meanwhile, there's China. Retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods now in effect. Let's get to Eunice Yoon this morning in Beijing with the latest. Hey, Eunice.
Hey, Carl. Well, China's counter tariffs are probably not going to have a meaningful impact on American business. Unlike President Trump's blanket tariffs, China's are targeted. Goldman Sachs has estimated that the Chinese levies cover $14 billion of U.S. exports to China. So that's only about 10% of the overall number of goods that the U.S. shipped to China last year. What is going to be important for us to watch, though, going forward is just how willing China is to expand its retaliatory toolbox. Already we saw a willingness, or at least a seemingly willingness, last week to target specific companies. So last week, when the Chinese were announcing the countermeasures, one of the actions was to launch an antitrust investigation into Google to blacklist PVH as well as Illumina. And then last December, it also launched an antitrust investigation into NVIDIA. There are also reports that the antitrust watchdog is now mulling a investigation into Apple. So you have all of that. And then overnight, the Wall Street Journal was reporting that the Chinese strategy could be to expand this to include Broadcom as well as Synopsys. So the Chinese Foreign Ministry today responded to that, dismissing the report. But this is something that the business community here has been very concerned about as President Trump takes office, that the Chinese would be using this type of retaliatory tool to push back against whatever President Trump decides to do. Guys?
Meanwhile, Eunice, I don't know if you've noticed, but
all right, I'm back.
I mean, after
Give me
a
1
period
second
of
here, guys.
drastic underperformance, K-Web's up 10% for the year. S&P's up only 2%. I just wonder if there is a sense that money is flowing in your direction once again.
From outside, I've heard that people say that the values of Chinese stocks has gotten so low, so maybe this is a time to get in. But from a Chinese perspective, a lot of investors are staying very far away from the Chinese stock market. Of course, a lot of Chinese cannot, unless you're really a professional, invest outside of the country. There are a lot of capital controls that make it difficult for people to do that. And in fact, what we're seeing here is many Chinese investors and just ordinary Chinese looking to open U.S. dollar accounts as well as investing into gold. So it's a little bit
we'll get there.
Actually, because the messaging in China has always been that that the dollar shouldn't dominate, that the yuan should gain international status, but its own people are looking at the U.S. dollar thinking maybe that's a better investment.
Yeah, it does explain gold at all-time highs once again.
I got help to push back.
I got help to push back.
I don't know if CNBC
Baldy
changed
helps
some
us
stuff.
push back against bipolar 1.
Let me kill this. I don't know if CNBC changed some shit, but I can't scroll around the way I used to, even on Chrome. So it's like something got weird with these guys. I need to figure out how or if I can make it better. Because I can't, like, now that it went to commercial, I can't even pull up. Like, I can't even hit the back button. And normally they just wouldn't show the commercial because I'm paying premium service for it. So something's gotten really weird with all of that. I don't know what it is. But here, we can take a look real quickly at the market. So let me just do this. I need to move some stuff around real quick here because my screen got weird. I have this issue where I guess I've fixed a bunch of problems, but I've got an issue where there's a short near my headset where when I hit it, it's like creates static electricity and then it moves my screens around. It sucks. But let's real quickly here look at the watch list and see how we're doing today. See what's winning, what's losing. Volatility is going down. The short Bitcoin ETF is going down. Tesla's down 1.74%. Maybe I'll sell some more Tesla stock and buy calls. I might end up doing that. CleanSpark is down 1.6%. So again, we got a few things going down. ARKG's down 0.5. So we're getting a little bit of a drop into the morning, which I think is what Tom Lee was talking about. But then again, a pop later into the day. Excuse me. So hopefully that's what we end up seeing. Let's see what's winning. Injective. So again, this is I think a layer 2 shitcoin for ETH. Flux, whatever. Render, Atom, SMCI. Let's see, BITX, a 2X fund for Bitcoin. MSTX is up 4%. Bonk is up. Solana is up. So we're seeing crypto kind of leading here into this bounce, and I think that's probably a really positive thing. We've got Hood up 2%. Again, Matic, a bunch of other stuff. So we got more chips. So chips, crypto, Bitcoin related stuff are kind of taking the lead here. Again, you can see how gold is up on the day, 1.55%. Huge move for gold. Again, Mara's up here, 1.61%. So a few of these are doing really good. SoFi's up. Let's see, Iron's down, PayPal's down. I'm so glad I'm out of PayPal. So again, not too crazy of a day. And let me see, where's TLT? TLT's up 0.04%. So TLT is doing all right. It's just kind of hanging out. I dig all that. I think that's all very positive. We'll see where things lie a little bit further from now. But MSTX is up almost 6%. Feeling really good about MSTX and the fact that I've been dialing. I sold some MSTR last week and have been for weeks. And then buying more MSTX. That feels good. Trump. So here's something I wanted to speak to real quick. Goldman Sachs says via Bloomberg, just two bullshit groups, that Trump immigration moves are shaving U.S. economic growth, so that we're going to lose economic growth because of these immigration moves. I said these are the same kind of people that told Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, that he would destroy the El Salvadoran economy by imprisoning all the gang members, the 70,000 plus gang members. So take this with a grain of salt because that's not what happened to their economy. If you guys saw that video last week showing how much they're growing and everything that's happening, it's wonderful. Now, also, the UK is caving because of Trump's tariffs, and not just them, others. But I want to talk to this. This is important. It says the Labour government is backing down on its controversial Online Safety Act about after fierce opposition from Trump's team, which slammed the law as Orwellian and a threat to free speech. These guys are also trying to get access to people's data. They want Apple and all these others to blow past encryption and give them a way to be able to see everything that people are doing and be able to basically just hack everybody. originally set to fine social media giants 10% of their annual revenue for failing to remove harmful content. Like, so this is separate from that, from the backdooring of people's personal information. This is separate. This is just the trying to censor content part of it. The UK is now willing to rewrite the law to avoid Trump's tariffs and secure a U.S. trade deal. The UK is fucked. And we got to get rid of Keir Starmer there, and that's going to happen. I said the tariff wars will probably escalate before they get better. Either way, we'll see how weak China really is. So this is the Trump to announce 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum, plans reciprocal duties. And if we get more talk in regard to that, guys, let me know. German economic minister, spokesperson, we take the Trump tariffs threat seriously, and they should. Mario Knopfel said that Trump sets sights on Europe to end Ukraine war. He's actually putting China on the back burner outside of reciprocating tariffs and escalating tariffs with him. He's like, we don't need to meet Xi right away. We can let it stew. So he's focusing on Ukraine and Russia right now. He said Trump's team is headed to Europe this week for higher stake talks on ending the war in Ukraine. Some are speculating that this is going to happen more towards April for the actual ceasefire and then again ending the war. With reports swirling around Trump secretly spoke with Putin about a deal that was supposedly over this weekend. When pressed, Trump dodged the question en route to the Super Bowl. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz says Trump is ready to hammer Moscow with tariffs, taxes, and sanctions to force negotiations while cutting U.S. aid to Ukraine and demanding Europe take on more of the cost. J.D. Vance will kick off the diplomatic blitz in Paris for an AI summit before joining Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and a special envoy Keith Kellogg at the Munich Security Conference, where Zelensky aims to rally support. I would not want to be going up against these guys. This is a formidable team. It's going to be amazing. So that's happening. And again, the Department of Education has been eliminated, $85 billion a year in waste. So that money will go back to the states, and the states, or I should say that there is some money involved that will go with the states. But for the most part, this is nothing that's gonna really change much in regard to education. The vast majority of that is done at the state level. The federal government doesn't really assist with it. Tesla down 2.7%, so getting a hit. Gets me excited. I might actually buy some Tesla, guys. CBS finally realized Americans support Trump, says Mario Knopfel. Trump's first weeks back in office are defying expectations, even in CBS YouGov poll, which usually leans left. 53% of his job performance and 70% saying he's doing exactly what he promised. His border crackdown is a hit, with 59% backing mass deportations and 64% approving of troops at the border. But on the economy, 66% say he's not doing enough to lower prices. This is all going to be fixed in the future. But these were the highest polls ever for Trump, for approval ratings and all of this stuff. Highest ever. Highest ever. So, very good stuff. Let's keep going. Do you think, bro, it's a good time to load up bags of Tesla? I'm going to be. BD, tits, Trump international tariff strategy. Love it. Let's roll with that. Shamath, this is a great read. Shamath, what I read this week, President Trump's 2025 tax plan proposes a restructuring of the U.S. tax system. I'm reading this because this is what's coming, and you should understand how this stuff works. Built on extending provisions from his 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that are set to expire by the end of the year. The plan makes lower income tax rates permanent across all income tax brackets and includes corporate tax reforms, such as lowering rates to a 15% for domestic manufacturing companies. For individual taxpayers, the proposal eliminates taxes on income categories, including tips, overtime, and Social Security. Imagine the benefits to our fucking economy and the increases in productivity for the overtime pay, especially when you get rid of taxes on tips, taxes on overtime, and taxes on Social Security benefits. That's going to help my parents. It's going to help my brother who works really fucking hard, and it's going to help anybody who's a waiter or a waitress. I love it. While also expanding the state and local tax deductions. Good. Get rid of taxes. The proposal also aims to address tax loopholes by closing the carried interest provision and reducing tax benefits for sports stadium owners. So the rich are going to have a harder time avoiding taxes. Great. To advance this tax plan through Congress, it would need to be introduced as a bill in the House of Representatives, likely through the Ways and Means Committee, which handles tax legislation. So this is coming, okay? There's a little more to it, but that's probably the focus of this post, and I'll leave that alone. All right, so again, we got him doing really well in polls. We got Mario Nawfal saying Trump strips security clearances from Letitia James, the prosecutor against him, who we found out, guys, literally she went after him for artificially inflating the value of residential and commercial real estate in order to be able to get increased funding. Now it looks like she's probably guilty of the exact same thing. Alvin Bragg, again, just all these people, Blinken, all these people lost their security clearance. Good, fuck off. Nick Sorter, President Trump on hold on his would-be assassins. So why did the one guy have 6 cell phones, and why did the other guy have foreign apps installed on his phone? No more holding back because of Biden. I'm entitled to know, and they held it back long enough. We're going to find out what happened with this, too. The persistence, voter registration since November, if you look here at Center County, Pennsylvania, since November has flipped from blue to red. Soon. I don't know what soon. I think he's saying that it's coming. Hillsborough County, Florida, flipped blue, red. New Jersey Republicans gained 10,480 voters in January. Nevada has plurality of registered Republicans. Pennsylvania is 105,194 voters away from flipping. These are amazing changes, guys. This is good stuff. All of it's good stuff. Person stabbed at anti-protest in Los Angeles. So they were beating people down and stabbing people at these protests. This isn't going to help their cause. Stephen Miller said, hey, Pete, care to show us the line in the Constitution where it says a lone elected district judge can assume decision-making control over the entire executive branch affecting 300 million citizens? Any mention of nationwide district court TROs or permanent all-powerful bureaucracies? So Pete was saying, in America, decisions about what is legal and illegal are made by courts of law, not by the vice president. So again, just kind of mocking this and saying, guys, they don't have this level of control over the government. OpenAI says they're going to make their own AI chip. Yeah, whatever. Luke, Jesse, you are betting big on Saylor with a huge portfolio allocation to MSTR and MSTX. I mean, 25% is a pretty big number, yes. Freedom Options, hey, Jesse, your CNBC playbook issues are due to their U.S. aid funding being cut. Fuck, maybe. Albert, looking at MSTR TA, does it seem like a gigantic wedge which should break up or down in the next couple of days? It's gonna break up, probably. But it could go down further, and if it does, whatever. I'm a patient man. I will lose money over the short term for long-term gains. I'm okay with that. Mucho Shekels, I second real estate question. Time to buy Tesla or Tel? I don't know what Tel is, but yeah, I think Tesla's going to be your better bet, honestly. And we can look at charts in a little bit. Justin, as a fireman, the no taxes on OT is going to be a game changer for me. That's awesome, dude. Albert, it doesn't seem like it. Oh, that was you. Freedom Options, say Jesse. Oh no, that was that. Tesla was around 120 February 2023, 350 February 2022. Very interesting chart. I think a lot is personal narrative. I don't know what you mean. Andrew Asmeyer, how are you feeling about Simler Scientific, or just stick with, I'm sticking with the Apex Predator. I don't care about it. Plus, I think it's actually at a higher NAV. Correct me if I'm wrong. Lonesis, hey, Jesse, how far will you hold on your CleanSpark July calls before you start to make a move? Oh, no, like 25, 30, 40. I'll be 100% out. So I'll be selling along the way. I'm looking for a doubling in CleanSpark, though, before I sell. Yeah, probably a doubling. BD, Jesse, any reason you don't use TSLL or Tesla similar to MSTX? Yeah, I don't know. I was in calls before, and I'm okay with a 2 to 3x. The underlying right now, it's probably getting closer to 3x. So I stuck with them. I think June or July of 2026 is a good number for a 330 strike. I mean, I think it's a good number. Unlock real estate. Any insights or suggestions on SMCI as it's going up big time? I sold out of mine because I wanted to get downside protection with TLT, which is up 0.04% on the day right now. So I'm not paying as much attention to it. I don't know how things went with their auditing. I don't know how things went with their reporting. Maybe it's getting better. I don't know. Andrew, also appreciate being in this community for so long. Come out to Arizona and let's shred some mountain bikes, dude. That sounds fun. I love mountain biking. Sorry, I mean, it's hard to value a company with just numbers. It's about whether FSD robots will be successful. Right. Yeah. It's always hard. There's times where the numbers don't matter. There's times where the numbers matter a lot. All that stuff is hard. You're right. Okay. So, holy crap. Kristi Noem has announced FEMA has resolved 80% of Western North Carolina cases in just 5 days. So remember how North Carolina was just fucked and nobody was getting help? Now they've already resolved 80% of the cases. These people are getting money and it's getting better. Jesse Waters said Democrats want to audit for $600 million or $600 Venmo payment. But when Elon Musk audits the $1 trillion government, they're ready to storm the castle. The government's been robbing us blind. We've been writing checks for tourism in Egypt to help BBC value the diversity of Libyan society, Iraqi Sesame Street, Armenian LGBT group, a DEI. I saw Elmo, the account Elmo on X, talk about how he was excited for the Super Bowl and how he didn't care who won and just hope everybody has fun. And then somebody's like, tell us where our $20 million is, Elmo. Fucking love that. An Armenian LGBT group, DEI Irish Musical, and the Guatemalan trans surgeries. They call the billions they've sent off aid, but those handouts is what is that money really ending up in. Again, it's just complete bullshit. It's ridiculous. And we've got Japan's prime minister talking about how they're looking to invest $1 trillion into our markets or into our economy, which is great. We've got people talking about Ron Paul for the Fed chair, which is good because he said what we really need to do is repeal 1913. That way we could get rid of the income tax and the Federal Reserve at the same time. Somebody immediately responded with, no, we don't need a Fed. We don't need a Fed. We need to abolish all of it. If he was the Fed chair, that would literally give him the ability to be able to do that. I hope you realize. Shamath, this, infinite. Tax reform is needed. Too many loopholes. Yes, sir. U.S. controls all the media, says Putin. A bit later, U.S. aid is ripped open, and we see Putin was right. Breaking, India is considering cutting tariffs on U.S. imports for luxury cars. It's bullish for Tesla. Bitcoin news, with traditional markets closed, Bitcoin briefly dipped to 94K and Trump's steel tariff announcement, but has recently rebounded. Any take on Micron? I sold that too. Just to be able to get back into this, to get the TLT. So I don't have much. I do think it's probably going to be decent. I think it's going to be a decent opportunity. I just didn't want to devote a lot of mind space to it. Shamath said this ruling is really good. Why? The process is still early. Let me read this. The process is still early and such in a phase where the antibodies are just emerging and starting to ramp. We haven't seen a crescendo yet, but it's coming. It's akin to the adrenaline-fueled fight or flight response of a trapped animal. Just talking about what's happening with the Democratic Party right now. So through that lens, this lawsuit is just a tip of the iceberg. The next few weeks and months will be about trying every way, shape, and form possible to keep the status quo in place. So I think we could have some negative price action again with tariffs, and then just the narrative that maybe DOGE can't do anything because of all the hoopla. But I don't think it's true. But in doing so, the deep state actors, their enablers, their sources of capital, and their methods will be exposed. By having this fight in the open, there's a very good chance of educating American people about what is actually going on, and as a result, making the changes last. This will be the real legacy of Donald J. Trump, Elon, and DOGE. I 100% agree. I think it's good that we're having this in the public forum. I think the Democrats think they're just doing whatever they can to fight, but what they're not realizing is they're burying themselves at the same time. This was on Friday. It said President Trump announces that he will be removing illegal immigrants that are currently on Social Security. Way too many getting paid. And if they're getting paid $1,500, guys, that's just fucking insane. I think I already talked about this one. Let's see here. Breaking, President Trump's Secret Service and paid Hollywood actor Michael Bay to produce a Super Bowl ad. I thought this was great. I just think this is what I think. This is the trajectory I see for the U.S. right now, guys, and where we're headed. And it's back to what I remember when I was a kid, and I love it. Listen to this.
America was founded on an idea. of freedom. America's always stepped forward in time of need throughout our short but powerful history.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Tear down this wall.
We've been there for all of it.
Second plane hit the tower.
Our heroes are humble. They have an inner pride to keep this idea alive. Protectors are born, they're not made. America's Secret Service protecting this Super Bowl is asking a few more to step forward. America was founded on an idea of freedom.
Anyway, I love that so much. I think it's great. We'll skip the rest of this under the Trump section. Let me just see if there's anything else that's really notable. Again, we're going after, Pam Bondi is going after Chicago, going after all sanctuary cities. Scott Pressler calls for the creation of the Department of Voter Efficiency. I love all of that. Again, CBS just recorded its highest approval of President Trump in their polling history. Let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, I love this too. I'm sorry. I think we're so headed in the right direction. Again, Democrats enraged about U.S. aid, and yet they gave two shits about North Carolina, about the California fires, really, and just any of this stuff, right? Like any of this, they just don't care. They don't care about what actually matters. They just care about getting their payment schemes. All right, real quickly, let's jump to some other stuff. So you guys were asking about Tesla. Yeah, let's look at it real quick. So I'll give you that. I know a lot of people, and plus maybe I should be buying some too. I don't know. So real quickly, I'm going to do one thing here. I'm going to kill this because we don't care about the fib extension right now. What we care about is the fib retracement, right? Because we want to know how low can we go? How low can we go? And let's just look at it. So I would argue that we're nearing a place where this could be a bounce, and I really need to adjust this to make sure that I got this right. Let me just see, because accuracy matters at this stage. Let me check over here. Okay. So right now we're underneath this fib. And let me zoom out a little bit because we want to get some of this previous history in here too. So we're under this fib. But I do think that this could be an area of support, and I think it probably will end up being an area of support. So if we close above 355-ish, then I think we're getting ready to bounce. And if we look, guys, we've dropped a lot. We're down like 27, 28%. We haven't cracked down underneath of this yet. We do want to see a bounce here soon. We could drop even further, though. I think we could get into the 340s maybe over here. 340 to, maybe just right at 340. If it gets worse though, guys, I mean, we got a huge gap going down to 315, 316. So I think you have to mentally prepare for this thing to be able to go lower. I do think you have to do that. The golden retracement area brings us all the way down to 275. I don't think that's happening. I think 300 would be like the base. But that's still another like 15% potential downside from here. So it's up to you. I think we're getting ready to bounce. But again, if tariffs get weird, anything else, that could change. So, but we are down 27. I mean, we were down just a minute ago. We were down 28% from where we were just in December. So pretty big move over a period of 6 weeks, I would say 7 weeks, to be down 27%. But you also have to realize there was just a lot of really positive sentiment after the election. And so we've retraced some of that. So I think we're getting closer to the bottom. I think it's probably a good entry point, but maybe be prepared for another 15% downside price action if you want to be safe. That's my take. So real quickly, let's go to MicroStrategy because that'll be fast, and then we'll jump to Bitcoin and Tesla, and then we'll get to charts. So we do know, we talked about this briefly, we got 7,600 Bitcoin that were bought. Saylor totally telegraphed it. We know that BlackRock is buying a bunch of MicroStrategy. We know that last Thursday, Saylor was hanging out here at Mar-a-Lago. I also heard rumors that he's hanging out with the CEO GME, I think it was the CEO. Who's Ryan Cohen? Is he the CEO? I don't know these people very well. So that's interesting too. Bitcoin. Breaking. IBIT, the world's largest Bitcoin ETF, is about to overtake the world's largest gold ETF in AUM. This, again, to the question earlier, should I be selling some of my gold stuff, gold ETFs, and buying Bitcoin? I think so, but that's just me. Bitcoin Magazine said, just in, Japanese Financial Services Agency is looking to lift the ban on Bitcoin and crypto ETFs. Bullish. Cryptos Are Us says, update, more than half of all U.S. states are pushing Bitcoin and crypto adoption. 27 out of 50 states now are introducing Bitcoin laws. Bullish. Brazilian stock exchange B3 to launch Bitcoin options trading. Bullish. Michael Saylor talking about how India's first publicly traded company is looking to adopt the Bitcoin standard. It's called Jet King. So now we're going to have like the Simler Scientifics. We're going to have Metaplanet in Japan, or where is that? Is it Japanese? I think so. And then we're going to have Jet King in India. So we have all these different companies around the world in different nations that are starting to realize what Michael Saylor's doing and that it's beneficial to them and their stocks. And so they're doing the same thing in other countries around the world. Bullish. I've said this for years. Maybe now people will listen. We can have our cake and eat it too. So this is Michael Saylor saying the U.S. dollar can be the world's reserve currency and Bitcoin can be the store of value.
And there's every indication that nation states are embracing it. Jerome Powell says it's a digital asset. Christina Lagarde says it's a digital asset.
See you, Papa.
The head of the SEC taught a class on it. I think that people understand it's not a threat to the dollar, by the way. What's going to happen is the U.S. dollar is going to be the world reserve currency, and it's going to run on billions and billions of mobile devices. And the digital asset that underlies that currency is going to be Bitcoin.
Wow. I will tell you, my friends got me addicted.
I said this for years, and nobody fucking listened to me. And they're like, no, just Bitcoin, dollar dying. But it ain't dying. It looks like it's going to be here, and it's going to actually, because we're embracing Bitcoin, like I talked about a bunch of times too, it's going to be facilitating strength in the dollar and strength in the USA, because we are going to be great again. And I think this is the thing that people couldn't see. They just wanted to be like, the USA is going to die, and Bitcoin is going to be great. But it's like I kept saying, do you want a $100 cheeseburger? And you're rich off of Bitcoin, but a burger costs you $100 fucking bucks? Or do you want it to where America benefits and the world benefits from Bitcoin during its adoption? That's the world I want, and that's the world we're going to see. And I love it. Gemini Knight, CleanSpark pullback, .786 at 1039. Data input online, the price difference between Tesla and MicroStrategy is now about $20. Is it worth swapping? The price does not matter. The price is just a number. It's the market caps that matter. It's the direction of them. It's a whole bunch of stuff. Is it worth swapping from MSTR to Tesla? No. I mean, no. Again, the price is not the way you should be looking at any of this. MSTR is going to do insanely well, probably a lot better than Tesla over the short term. And I wouldn't even think about something like that if you weren't thinking at least Tesla calls. But again, the better return right now will be MSTR, most likely. Data, Martin says, Jesse, how about Mara? Since January, it drops 48%. What's your forecast? I think it's going to do really good. I don't have a direct number right now, but it's going to do really, really well. Let's get through the Bitcoin stuff. We can get to charts in a second. Just in, University of Austin to buy $5 million in Bitcoin. We don't want to be left behind, says the chief or CIO of the university fund. Love it. Bullish. Adam Back says Bitcoin is going to be $1 million if we get a Bitcoin strategic reserve. This guy is original cypherpunk, a badass. I thought it was Beck. Whatever. He follows me, actually. Cool dude. Crypto Rover. Whales are buying Bitcoin like never before. They know something we don't. Again, this is going to play out soon. I can't tell you exactly when. Downward pressure, macroeconomics matters. But, and then again, Quentin just shows the difference between the Bitcoin mined in 2025 and what's just been bought by ETFs. But fuck, throw MicroStrategy on there and see how crazy that fucking bubble gets. Crypto adoption is 43% faster than mobile phones and 20% faster than the internet. seemed kind of like a big deal, especially when we're going to be backing it and supporting its ecosystem in America. Would you sell Hood Leaps here and buy shares? I might actually. I wouldn't sell Hood Leaps. What I might end up doing with my Hood is cashing that out. I've got $147,000 in it. I do believe that it can still do good, but I don't have options on it right now. So I might use some of that money to buy Tesla today, even. Yeah, I might do that. Might do it. Feel like it. Feel like I might. Let's see here. Again, just everybody's jumping on board. And I just want to reiterate all the Bitcoin people like Cynthia Loomis that have close access, like Michael Saylor hanging out in Mar-a-Lago. This is all going to come to fruition. Q1, Q2 are probably going to be really good for Bitcoin. I think that's a lot of that. Let's get out of that. Let's go to Tesla real quick, and then we will move on to other things. Let me real quick. Actually, I'm going to hit altcoins super fast. So altcoin rally incoming. There's a lot of technicals in altcoins that look brilliant too, guys. You got to realize we've had a downward trending RSI on here for a long time, and this is on the weekly. And then we've had this upward movement that you're seeing here. I'm sorry, Bitcoin dominance. This is Bitcoin dominance. That's why it's positive to altcoins. So Bitcoin dominance, again, going up. You can see this wicked wick that we had over here. And then at the same time, we can see that Bitcoin dominance wants to go down. Historically, when Bitcoin dominance goes down, altcoins go up. Also, there's a golden cross imminent. Few still believe in alt season happening anytime soon, yet a major bullish crossover is about to take place on the weekly chart. Just think about really positive congressional news in the months ahead in regard to Bitcoin, in regard to like state level strategic reserves, in regard to altcoin and stablecoin legislation, again, helping the 10-year pull down. There's a lot of really good stuff that can help us out a lot. And the last time we saw the golden cross here, guys, the alt season did really, really well, and we haven't really seen it yet. And I do agree that that's probably accurate. Luca also said, total bullish or bearish? This is a total market cap for crypto, and it shows how we were back testing support before heading higher. I think it's bullish. And again, over here, you get kind of another representation of that, a cup and handle pattern that did a back test, and now it's ready for launch. And the measured move for this would be a very, very high number from Titan to crypto. Again, there's just a lot of really good stuff happening right now that I want to make sure I'm speaking to. TLT, I did want to show one thing here. So this is just another person. This is Brad Gerstner, who's talking about why he believes that bond yields are going to come down. And it's just kind of speaking to my book, and so I want to talk to it.
Like with tariffs, we're in this fog of war, Bill. Change brings a lot of contentiousness, and I think sometimes we lose the basic facts of what we're trying to achieve here. It's super important to understand that there is nobody like Elon. I mean, he's truly an N of one in working on issues like this. So he's working 20 hours a day. He's working through the weekend. His team is, in fact, sleeping across from the White House and the executive office building. But most importantly, right, Elon is a systems thinker. I mean, he literally showed up in Washington, and he didn't do what normal people do when they show up in Washington, which is vet all the politicians and understand what he needs to do in order to play by all the rules that everybody else sets. He just starts asking questions. And not surprisingly, the first question he asks is, who sends out the wires? Like, who controls the wires? Can I just get a list of all the wires that are scheduled to go out? Like, what are we spending the money on, over the next month? Have they been audited? And as I think he started doing that, of course, the Leviathan of Washington just convulses, right? Because they're like, whoa, nobody questions, nobody looks at the wires. And he's like, well, that's kind of what, the president has asked me to do, so I need to do that. And so the antibodies really started attacking when the only thing he really has to do in the first instance is, his first principles led him to thinking where to look. I want to bring it back to this idea that change is hard, but change is necessary. His whole purpose here is to balance the budget that both parties have proven the inability to do in the normal process. And most people agree it's bankrupting the country. And so it's not that hard. We showed this on the pod. If you just return to the baseline of 2019, Bill, if we just go back to the baseline, grow it by 2.5% from 2019, you balance the budget in this president's term, right? But that requires us getting $1 trillion cut off the COVID high. We lost our minds. Remember the letter to Meta, time to get fit. It was like we lost our mind. Well, Silicon Valley's gotten fit. We've made some reductions, but government hasn't gotten fit at all, hasn't done anything except stay at that COVID high. And all Elon's saying is, listen, let's just go back. Let's start with just getting $1 trillion of this out, which is the excess that we put in. The other thing that he's doing is he's literally live blogging this on Twitter. He hosted this DOGE Spaces on Sunday night. Anybody can join this thing. It's not like they're hiding anything.
Even Sunday night's a euphemism. It was at midnight Eastern, I think.
Which, to me, I mean, I think most people thought that was like him being mischievous. What I took, the guy works around the clock.
Right, that was he had a free moment.
Right, including
like two congressmen.
Yeah. One of the things I tweeted on Sunday night after that was, if we do this, if we tell the American people that we're going to do this and we put together a believable plan where you're going to cut $1 trillion and balance the budget in the next few years, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Interest rates are going to come down. Right? Because the whole reason bond vigilantes moved into the bond market and started shorting it is they thought, okay, here we go. Trump's going to stimulate the hell out of the economy with a continuation of taxes, et cetera, and nothing's going to really change on costs. And I think the big thing that I came back thinking is people are wrong. There is a fundamental difference in how these folks are attacking, removing inefficient spending from the federal government and getting us back to what is a very sensible 2019 baseline. Remember, nobody thought in 2019, Bill, that we were like starving babies in the streets because our spending was so low. Nobody thought that, okay? Like everybody thought we were spending plenty of money in 2019, and that's all they're talking about. And yet, if you watch the convulsion coming out of Washington, you would think that something very draconian was going on.
So I love the fact that he's talking about that we're going to see this efficiency lead to better bond yields and that everything's going to look good. I did sell, guys. I don't know that I got a great price, but I don't really give a shit. I did sell my Hood position, and that garnered me like a little over $150,000, something like that, whatever I was at. And then I put that into Tesla calls in order to be able to pile into more of those. I saw somebody indicate that James had sold all of his MicroStrategy and put it into Tesla. I think that's weird, but I probably need to watch what he was talking about and go from there. I don't know. And bought more Tesla. All right, so I'm just going to post this real quick to subs only, and then put this in the Discord, and then we will go from there. Just 1 second. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody just posted that, right? James and Invest Andrew just sold half of his MSTR and flipped to Tesla. I don't know. I mean, I love Tesla, obviously. I just bought $150,000 more in it just a second ago, but I don't know if that was the right move, and I could have got a better rate, but I wasn't really paying attention. Oh, well, shit happens. Don't care. Just want to be in. Want to be in more than I'm out right now. And so I'm going to post this real quickly in the Discord. Or do I have the Discord up? Fuck, I don't. So let me pull it up over here. 1 second. I don't want to log in on the screen. And then we'll get back to it. Let's see. I think I got in. Hopefully I don't have to do any verification. Weird shit. Okay, there we go. Today's trades. And everyone. Everyone. Let me see here. 1 second. 1 second. Oh, got to use an @ There we go. Oh, I got 2 of those. Okay, cool. Finally got it in there. Boom. Enter. All right. Okay, that's in there. Sweet. Moving on. Let me check chat. So we got that done. So I got into my trade, which is what I wanted to do. He sold half of his MSTR from one of his accounts, so I'm not sure. Yeah, so we don't even know the proportions. So that's important to note. But again, I'm buying Tesla too. I actually think it's going to do really well. And the leaps were down today. I don't know how much they were down. Let me see here. It says 107.75 down 6.5%. So I probably got it like down 5% on the leaps because I'm closer to 110. So maybe like 4.5. So for someone who's long-term buying TLT now, can you hold it forever once it goes up, or does it need to be sold within the next couple of years? If you're just getting TLT, the stock, then you're buying an ETF on TLT and it will pay dividends and it can go up and you can make money and you don't need to sell it. But again, I will be selling once we get to like the 30% upside. I'll be selling probably large portions. And then if we get up to 60, I'll be doing even more. Trump's to announce new tariffs. Is this going anywhere? Let me just check this real quick on the audio and see if this is worth listening to. 1 sec, guys. Okay. Okay, so that's just a broad 25%. I don't even know if I knew that, so that's good to know. All right, let's get back over to this real quick here. So again, so I bought even more Tesla calls, guys. I'm sitting on about $900,000 in Tesla right now. So I was buying the dip too, similar to probably what James was doing, which is good. And let me just show you guys where I'm at right now in my portfolio too, before we just jump into the rest of this here. So down it says 20,000 on the day. And again, the things I have the bulk of the money in, ARKG's down today. I don't know if I'll add more to that. I've got over 400,000 between 2 accounts. We'll see. Let's see what the calls are down. 3.85. Not down too much, actually. Clean Spark calls down 6.35%. I'm probably just going to leave this the way where it is right now. Maybe I'll add to it. I don't know. TLT, it looks like, is up just a little bit today. I've got about 530,000 in that. And again, Tesla, I just added another 150,000 in calls. I was sitting at like 52. Now I got 65 contracts. So again, buying some of that. And I think it was down about 5% on the day. So I could have got a better price, but I didn't. From his Patreon retirement account, the experimental account, I sold half of my MicroStrategy. Do we know what actual percentage that is of like his accounts? I don't know how he does his stuff. I don't follow it as much as portfolio allocation. So I don't know if he gives it all to you or just like an account. I don't know. But I'm happy about MSTR, and I'm staying in MSTR because I think it can actually do really well ahead. I don't know if did he have any reasoning behind what he was doing, guys? Simi's making a comeback. That's probably a good sign. Yeah, that's probably a good sign too. Let's see, what's Palantir doing? Down 0.7%. That thing was just parabolic. I'll be surprised if that doesn't end up rolling over. Looks like, let's look real quickly at other stuff here too, guys. If you guys want to pull up a chart, let me know. We've done a lot of other stuff here, so we can definitely do that. So Clean Spark down 2%. It looks like some of this is changing really fast. But Injective is up still. BABA's up. I don't know why people are putting so much money into Chinese stocks. Like Eunice Yoon said from China, she's like, Chinese people aren't buying these fucking stocks. It's you guys. So I think it's a stupid ass move, but people will do it. If it's a short-term trade where you can make money, great. If you're going to hold this for any period of time, you're going to get it fucked. Jesse, do you ever think about BRK given its reliable growth and not risk on enough? No, I don't really. Stevie G, Clean Spark against BTC gives an interesting perspective. Justin, Mobileye chart and financials, please. I don't look at Mobileye. I don't care about Mobileye whatsoever. I don't know. I don't want to pull up things. I won't pull up BABA really, and I don't want to pull up Mobileye, something I don't give a shit about. Maybe I could pull it up. We'll see. I might. Christopher Brown, could you take a look at Cypher when you get a chance? Yeah, let's pull some up. Yeah, fuck it. I mean, I did tell you to throw out some charts, and I would look at them. So let's maybe do that. Let's start, though, with TLT. Somebody said something about TLT. Let's look at that one. See how we're sitting, and we'll go from there. So again, I think we're kind of double bottoming here. I think it's a pretty good sign, and I think we have divergence in the RSI in the monthly time frame that goes all the way back to August of 2022. So I think that this is a sign that we're going to go higher and higher. And again, I got the 2 years for that to happen, and I can get like probably 600, anywhere from 300 to 600% in gains. Or I'm sorry, 350 to 700% in gains, which is really nice. Tesla's already bouncing down 0.7%. He only sold half of his experimental account, not the main one. See, I don't know what that means, though. Like, how big is the experimental versus his main? What percentage of portfolio? I just don't know what any of that means. So it's just like a statement, but not really anything of substance to me. But again, I think that with TLT, I think there's a really good chance that we can get back over a short period of time up to like this 120 level. Before hitting any kind of real strong resistance on the visible range volume profile, like probably right about here, maybe the 118 range. But if that happens, that's a 33% move, and I can make 11x on that move. So that's almost a 400% gain, and I've got over $500,000. So that maybe gets me to 2.6 million in TLT, and maybe at that time I revert back. I shouldn't say $500,000 though, because part of that is stock. So we'll have to see. If TLT keeps dropping, though, I might just switch all of that to calls. Jesse makes a Tesla move. Yes, I did. Let's look over here real quick. Let's go back to what people were looking for. So ASTS moving higher. Intel really strong today. Cool. I just don't know if there's anything fundamental behind it. I don't even know what ASTS is off the top of my head, but let's look it up over here first. And that's what I'm going to do with some of these guys. I want to see, space company. Everybody wants to talk about the companies that don't make any money and that are competing against SpaceX. I obviously don't love this because there's no real revenue. Massive share dilution, burning money like an incinerator. It's like they're putting it underneath the jet engine. $172 million in net income loss on $1 million in gains. Burning free cash flow, it's almost $64 million last quarter. This is just a horrible company, in my opinion. That's my take on that. I don't care about where the stock is if it's a horrible company. Do you ever think BRK, given it's reliable? Let me just pull it up here real quick. BRK, is that a fund? Oh, that's Berkshire Hathaway. Yeah, I don't give a shit about that right now either. That is not my style of investing at all. And I think value investing is going to be in for a world of hurt. CleanSpark I could pull up. So again, CleanSpark has had an amazing bounce. I would call this a triple bottom over here off the 200 moving average on the weekly time frame. And again, really finding good support on it, launching hard when it hit it. Only one day did it close underneath of it. And if you go back, or I should say 1 week, and then over here it was 1 week, and over here we actually broke down. So since we broke down, we've really only had 2 weeks where we closed underneath of it since October of 2024. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You're talking like, what, 10, 11 weeks, and only 2 of those, so 1/5 of the time, it's been underneath of it. But more recently here, it's launching hard. So I think CleanSpark is going to be going up. I wouldn't be shorting this in any way. Just to get to its recent high in March, guys, you're looking at 122% in gains. If we get that, my options are going to go up a lot. I can tell you that. So feeling pretty good about that. Feeling pretty good. Let's go Mobileye. You want to look at Mobileye? We're going to start over here and look at their finances. Isn't that fun? All right, let's look at it. MBLY. I just think trying to look at companies that are the next Tesla is really fraught with disaster. So their revenue is flat as shit, $490 million. It's actually down from 2023, and I'm imagining 2025 will be worse. 2024 had a $3 billion net income loss. Free cash flow, $319 million, it says, for the yearly. And free cash flow is getting better. I got to actually give them props there. I don't know what the future looks like for this company. Looks like they got a lot of money in R&D, but their competition is like, it's Jerusalem-based. What is the PE? Forward PE is 58. Current PE is -5. I don't know. It's the problem I find here is just your competition. I don't see why anybody would be interested in, and maybe there's a business here and I can't see it. I don't see why anybody would be interested in anything that's competing against Tesla. It just seems fraught. Why look for a number 2 when you've got by far the number 1? That's kind of my take on it. Christopher Brown, could you take a look at Cypher when you get a chance? Yeah, we can do that. So I don't know. I don't love this. Just because, I just don't want to go. For the same reason I don't like the space stuff. That was worse, though, because they're bleeding money. They're hemorrhaging it. So at least this one's better. And I like Israeli stocks a little bit, too, just because they got so beaten up from the war. All right, so Cypher has already been bouncing really hard. Look at this wick down here, guys. Back in January, beginning of January, look at this. This thing was at $4. Now it's up at about $6. It's up 50% over that period of time. Looks beautiful. Just sitting underneath here. I think it's just a matter of time before it gets to 786. And again, I think it still has a ways to go. I think it's very possible that this thing goes much higher. It's going to be very easy, I think, to get to 15 and beyond, and maybe stops at 24 this cycle, maybe even higher. This thing can go. Oh, you know what I should be doing? I should fix this. My dad is calling me, but I'm doing the market open. I don't know. Okay, I don't know what's going on. All right, so what is it, 9:20? In a little bit here. I don't know why he's calling. I think he's in my house right now, so I might end up having to go in a second, guys. I'll do like another chart here real quick, and then I think we'll probably be done. APP chart next. Let me just look at the finances first, because I don't like to go to charts without knowing what is going on. So this is Aploven Corp, I'm assuming. Nice net income increases. Revenue, cash flow looks good. Yeah, that's a good start. 49 forward PE, so it's a little high. 49 is a big number. It means that they're doing pretty good, valued pretty high. All right, so I can hear him talking upstairs. I will have to do this next time, guys. I'm going to try and figure out what's going on with my dad real quick here and why he's calling me. So I love you guys. I will talk to you tomorrow, and I'll post on X. I got to get to the gym. Got to talk to my dad. So you guys have a great day. And again, just be optimistic. Beautiful things are happening, okay? So it's going to get a lot better. We could have some short-term hiccups. It's going to get good. Focus on your priorities. Focus on the investments you understand the most, and consolidate into those and leverage in if you have to. Peace out, guys. See you tomorrow.